In a press release, UASU has expressed that it will officially launch the strike and urge its members to boycott work at the university due to unpaid salaries and the university's poor management. The workers are complaining about what they also term as financial related issues at the institution. It should be noted that the issue of salaries for university staff has become a chronic problem and even led to their strike at public universities recently, leading to the disruption of academic activities. The debate over the formation of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has continued between the ruling party and the opposition, with the future of the commission being legally empowered to carry out its duties still unclear. The debate began when Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper Party's Kalonzo Musyoka threatened to hold mass protests across the country in March this year if President William Ruto will not have appointed new commissioners. However, in a one-on-one response yesterday, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi made it clear that the opposition is the one stalling efforts to appoint the commissioners following court cases challenging the process.
Wiper Democratic Movement will lead demonstrations by the end of March unless progress is made towards the reconstitution of the new Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Watu wamekuwa wakisinzia na wakidanganya kwamba Mheshimiwa William Ruto amekataa kuunda tume ya uchaguzi. Ati yeye hataki IEBC iundwe. Na kumbe hawa jamaa walikuwa wameenda kotini kuzuia IEBC isiundwe. Yeye yuko tayari. Tunasema wale walienda kotini waondoke huko, watoe hiyo mambo yao huko, wapeane nafasi Mheshimiwa Rais aunde IEBC.
High Court Judge Chacha Mwita has issued orders directing Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to disclose the whereabouts of missing Wajir member of County Assembly Yusuf Hussein Ahmed within 14 days. Justice Mwita also directed the petitioners to serve the respondents within 7 days. In the case, the Law Society of Kenya, Wajir Governor Ahmed Abdullahi and the MCA are listed as first, second and third petitioners respectively. The Dela Ward MCA, who went missing more than 5 months ago, is said to have been abducted on September 13th, 2024 along Enterprise Road in Nairobi's industrial area. A month after his disappearance, a body was retrieved in Lake Yahud, which was believed to be the missing MCA. Family members and locals thronged the morgue to identify the body that was badly tortured and decomposed, but 2 independent DNA tests later determined that the body was not that of the MCA. There is a need for gender-based violence and the killing of women in the country to be stopped immediately. Speaking at the memorial service of Advocate Judy Thongori, Chief Justice Martha Koome said she was a great advocate for confronting gender-based violence and was at the forefront of advocating for the creation of special judicial units to handle such cases.
When I became Chief Justice, she came also to encourage the judiciary to have specialized units to deal with sexual gender-based violence. It is unfortunate that Judy has gone. We have 13 of them, but we are still faced with many cases of SGBV, including femicide. But as we bid Judy farewell, as we reflect on her legacy, the legacy that she left and the work that she has left incomplete, is for us to make sure that this country is safe and secure for everybody.
Former Chief Justice David Maraga also condoled with the family of Judy, further describing her as having great love for the institution of marriage and family.
I was in the family division for about 3 years in Nairobi. Judy appeared before me on a number of occasions. I can't remember a case she prosecuted, a divorce case she prosecuted to the end. She endeavored to preserve the marriage. And when I heard of her demise, what came to my mind immediately is that we have lost a pillar of the marriage institution.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
Are you ready to become Kenya's next biggest music star? Do you have what it takes to compete with the best and walk away with over 1 million Kenyan shillings in grand prizes? Auditions are open for Kenya Star Search on Saturday 1st of February and Sunday 2nd February at the Nairobi City Charter Hall from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come through and show us what you're made of. Proudly sponsored by Skiza, Techno Kenya, Sunlink, Wairimu Kenya and Boomplay.
Looking to upgrade your kitchenware, furniture, or electronics? We've got the best deals for you. Digger Shop, your one-stop online store for electronics, furniture, kitchenware, and more. Buy online now and enjoy fast and convenient countrywide delivery in just 48 hours. Here's the best part. Every Saturday from 6:30 p.m. you get exclusive discounts on your favorite items during Shop.Digger Show on KTN. So why wait? Visit shop.digger.co.ke and experience convenience at your fingertips. Digger Shop. Fast, easy, affordable.
Good morning. A quick look at what's going on with traffic this morning as we start off Thursday. All right. Traffic on the thicker superhighway is just starting to develop as we go towards Survey. We're not going to see too much of an issue right about now. Also, as you're coming out of Westlands, we're usually seeing movement these days. So not movement, but traffic. So there's a bit of a hold up there, certain parts of Wairimu as you get towards the CBD as well. It doesn't look too bad coming off of Mombasa Road, and you'll be fine going through towards Haile Selassie. No problem as of right now. All right, let's see how Thursday turns out to be, but let's do it together. Talk to us through the morning about what's going on where you are and keep things moving. This morning we'll talk SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning. It's 8 minutes after 6 o'clock, and here we are on the 23rd of January. I feel like I'm underwater. You know how when you're underwater and then you just feel like bloop, bloop? I feel like that.
Why?
I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. I'll come to the surface at some point. Don't worry. I'm not going to stay down here.
Okay.
Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning. How are you?
Underwater.
At least I'm on a hard surface, yeah?
Yeah. Well, good thing is that I like to swim, and I probably will not stay under for too long. Yeah.
Nice. City, Salamu.
Salamu mingi sana.
From Echid. My barber. Let me give you a story. Let me give you guys a story.
Oh, here we go.
Yes. So I've been with this barber for the past 10 years.
10?
10 years, yes.
So the guys are cutting hair when you're 2 years old?
Yes, City. 10 years. Yeah, so they introduced this new service. So you get in, have your hair shaved, then you get into the neck and head massage. City. Some things that you just need to be proud of as Kenyans.
Neck and head has been massaged.
Exactly what he's trying to tell you is that he received the neck and head massage.
I don't just look at the haircut. Okay.
Essentially,
it's the little things we need to celebrate as Kenyans. I mean, such services as you call.
Your guy is called who again?
Echid.
Greetings to you.
Yeah, but the person massaging is Grace, so yeah.
This is where we were going eventually with this story, and I'm glad that all things that eventually happen eventually come to light. So when it has landed, this particular plane has landed, and what Dennis was trying to tell you from the very beginning has now come to the fore.
Yes.
A very good beginning, eh?
Yes.
Okay,
So we do hope that you enjoyed yourself.
I did.
And as they say, all things end in happy endings. I'm just saying.
Tafakari ya babu.
Yeah, you think about it. If you don't get it,
Get out of here.
it. So good morning, everybody. Now that we're dealing with Dennis's happy endings, good to have you guys here as we're starting and getting into it this morning. So let's tell you what we'll be talking about today, shall we? As we get into the show for the day at 7 o'clock, we will be talking with Dagoretti North MP Beatrice Elachi. She said a couple of days, guys, if things are bad in the country, why not leave? So we would like to, get a bit of an understanding from her in terms of what she meant and if really what she said is actually what she meant. And we'll see and have that conversation with her at 7 a.m. And then we've been talking about the Tujejiri program for some time. Stephen Mate is the Education Senior Program Manager at the KCB Foundation, and we'll be looking at education and what they've actually been able to do to match folks who have skills with opportunities. And then finally, the National Chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Okoh, is talking about the plight of medics. We know that clinical officers are on strike. They've been asked to end the strike. But Peterson Washira, who is the national chairman, said, you know what? No, because for the longest time you guys have been taking us for granted, and this seems to be the language that you understand. Nairobi County Governor Arthur Johnson Sakaja had asked that everybody goes back to work, realizing the importance of clinical officers. Okoh says if you do realize our importance, then you'll stick to the CBA and do what you said you were supposed to do. So those are conversations that we'll have today, and we see you all already clicking into the room this morning. So let's do this. Let's take a look at what's happening with the weather. Will it rain today? I smelt rain in the air this morning when I walked out. Crisp at 4 in the morning. But hey, let's see what happens. And then we'll come back and say hello to you as we get into the day.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to... The weather with SpiceFM.
And this morning, as Ndu smells the rain coming to Nairobi, we are experiencing highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Kakamega, highs of 30 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 24 degrees. In the lakeside city of Kisumu, highs of 29 degrees and lows of 17 degrees. But across the borders to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highs of 24 degrees and lows of 9 degrees. Dar es Salaam experiencing highs of 32 degrees and lows of 27 degrees. And in Paris, France, highs of 8 degrees and lows of 6 degrees, and in China, highs of 6 degrees and lows of negative 4 degrees. That is the weather this hour. We will keep on updating you. Good morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
I don't know the rest of the thing to say, but yeah, you get it. Bas,
kabisa. Yes. Good morning. And Don Sabwandu. To Yon in Malawi, we say kumwaula.
Okay, so
Kenya politicians must check themselves before they wreck themselves. How are you in the city and have a self-check day?
Okay. Self-check.
Wapi mtu akimana? Mtu akimana nani? Ako Kimana. Yes, Rose Grace. Good morning, Spice team. Happy New Year, Tim Kubwa, tuned from Tamu. Blessed year to you all. And Seti, we need you to speak some pidgin English.
Abi?
Try.
Naso, say it, Naso.
I actually need to know it before I can speak it.
Okay, let me teach you one phrase. I know Sabi speakam. I know
Sabim speakam.
I know Sabi speakam.
I know Sabi speakam.
Very good. Do you know what you've said?
I don't speak Sabi.
No, okay. You were getting there, and then now you just messed the thing up. I know Sabi speakam. I don't know how to speak it.
It.
It. Exactly.
Okay.
I know Sabi speaker.
Good morning from Mombasa, Robert Mbogo. Good morning to you too, Desmond Otis. Spice Crew, hello. Natembea will soon tembea. I'm tuned in from lectures of Uhanya Achieng. How is you? Good morning to you, Desmond. And Sir George Gashuri, good morning, everybody. Greetings from the cold and freezing Manchester and looking forward to a great Justice Thursday. Karibu sana. Leo, hello, Presidents Ndu, CT, Aseto, Team Djibouti, waiting for confirmation or denial that our candidate is stepping down. Angor, Chamgay, my beautiful people, greetings from the beautiful hills of Saboti, Trans Nzoia. Sajoj Gashwiri, why are leaders on top of vehicles after 2.5 years of no service after taking over the government? Good question. And Sami Lydiah, good morning, wonderful people. Have a blessed day from Mazera. Ndu asks City if he is aware after 1986, Uganda's Museveni planned to send Banyarwanda Tutsi Paul Kagame to Nigeria, Fred Rwigema to US, Peter Baigana to Russia, all for military training.
No, I didn't know. But like many questions that have been asked, thank you, because I am learning. These are things I didn't know. Now I do know.
Yes, that is from Pap D and Jomungai. Following from Boni Lake Ndu, do you remember Ken Saruwiwa?
Yeah, I went to school with his daughter, actually.
Yeah, Joe Mungai there. And Eunice Okello, good morning, Team Spice. Jimmy Munuthi, hello from Naivasha. Calvin Somonde, good morning, good people. Greetings from Kisumu, Abaria Kisumu. Julius Mashemerwa, Jumbo to you. Africa Queen, good morning. Robinson Gatiba, 96.0 in Nakuru is dead again. Kindly rectify. Okay, we are sorting that out. We shall sort that out very soon. Technical is on it. Guasteva Mandela, good morning, all the way from Canada. Kanyada.
Okay, sawa.
Homa Bay County.
The Canada for Homa Bay.
Yeah. Emma Ibutu. Hi, I'm on my way to school. I'm grade 7. All the best to you, Emma. And Andrew Mark. Good morning from Nakuru City. Try to bring Nakuru leadership regarding fish in Lake Nakuru. Is it edible, and why not license for the young people to fish freely? We shall follow that up. And Ali Ado. Good morning, Team Spice. Nico Macho from Mombasa, Chuda Kiziwi. Karibu sana. Bwangi Joma. Good morning, SpiceFM guys. Kenya on its knees. And George Okoth, good morning, my good people. CT Princess and Dennis. CT, do you remember the song Kenya Yetu? Kenya ni inchi ya ajabu.
Oh yes.
It's not just
that one. I remember.
Sing it.
Kenya Yetu, Kenya ni inchi ya ajabu.
See, that is exactly it.
Exactly.
And then there's a refrain. Kenya ni inchi ya ajabu. Sort of like
that.
Yes.
Musi Els.
Wonderful, wondrous country.
Yeah, and Musi Els, good morning, Kenya. Banadita, good morning from Doha, waiting for the big conversation. Karibu sana, we shall be having 3 big conversations today. Emma Ibutu, point of view, listening to Spice FM with my mother on my way to school, Ongata Academy. Karibu sana. And Bwangi Juma, government fighting a ghost, laughing about it. And Wairimu, good morning, listening from Spanaway, Washington. Karibuni sana, everybody, to Kenya's big conversation.
Everybody, good morning. So, thanks for always being here. Let's see what the Rwandese are saying this morning.
You know, the Rwandese are saying wonderful things. Really wonderful things. And it is good that they are speaking through their proverbs. And their proverbs resonate with what is happening on the continent and what is happening with their neighbors in East and Central Africa. Yes, so it isn't just. Pregnancy like fire cannot be kept secret.
That's very true.
It's like you can't be a bit pregnant.
No, you can't. You really can't. It'll come to the fore. It'll come out eventually, essentially. Right?
Yes.
Things cannot be hidden. Okay. Pretty straightforward, Nay?
It is absolutely straightforward. But then we will determine just how straightforward is, won't we?
We will.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Let's look in some of the headlines today on the front page of the Standard. Face off. There's a face off. Haibo. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi skipped Tuesday's meeting with his handlers, saying he wasn't properly invited. However, Secretary to the Cabinet is having none of that, saying he absconded the session, an indication of deep cracks in Kenya Kwanza government. Cabinet meeting, can you just miss a cabinet meeting because you were busy? What were you doing? That's what you're supposed to be doing, essentially, is what they're saying. Secretary to the Cabinet says, Don't play, man. By being in the cabinet WhatsApp group, Muturi only received the general invitation message from Wanjao, but he did not receive a personalized brief on the cabinet for his docket, as always happened in the past. And this according to Justin Muturi ally. Mercy Wanjao, who's the secretary to the cabinet, said, I issued a general notice, which is the common practice to all cabinet secretaries. Through the general notice, the CSs have access to their expectations at the cabinet forum. It is untrue to claim that I dispatched the invitation to some and left others. So the CS says he normally gets two messages he says he normally gets two messages is what the CS says he normally gets during invitation to cabinet meetings, but he only got one on Tuesday. So of course folks are asking the question, okay, but still you got the message. Were you waiting for the second message then for you to go to cabinet? Why didn't you just go? And this is what Mercy Wanjao is saying. But let's look at the details of that as we go along. Hi, Avin. EACC to probe graft claims against judges. So now the EACC is under the authority of David Oginde, says, okay, you know what? There are claims. We're going to probe them. The JSC met the other day. So let's see what comes out of that. Jitters as funding of health drops. We'll look at that. Trump pardons drug dealer. Gachagwa's political fate lies in judges' hands. I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours. When they decide that they're going to throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink, I'm telling you, nothing will stop it. So let's see what happens with that.
This thing is ending up in the Supreme Court.
Yes, now, it will.
Either which way. It doesn't really matter.
As far and as high as it can possibly go is where it will go.
Yes.
Ruto's big gamble on state corporations is another headline. President William Ruto, in a move backed by the IMF, announced 42 parastatals are going to be merged or dissolved to save government money. As though that's where the big leak is. But okay, let's just go with that. While government says no jobs will be lost, civil servants are a worried lot. So, City, you're asking, did you know that there is a state corporation called the Kenya Tsetse Fly and Trypanosomiasis Eradication Council?
No, read that trip again.
Trypanosomiasis.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I missed a couple of consonants there.
Yes.
Did you also know that there's a parastatal called the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education in Africa?
That one I came across yesterday. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah?
The trypanosomiasis I'd heard of before.
You had heard of before?
Yes.
I'm sure the other ones you knew about, but there's also a National Council for Nomadic Education.
I didn't know it existed, but I now do.
But it's been collapsed, so it's going to cease to exist.
By the way, this IMF thing and cut down cost austerity measure thing, it's not new.
It's not new.
Yeah.
Raise your taxes, tighten
it's not new.
It's the normal thing.
At all. And it's usually followed by disastrous consequences. So let's wait and see what's going to happen with this one here. This isn't the first time they've done this.
They're not. Schools fire workers as cash crunch bites. The ripple effects of no Form 1 classes is deepening, with some support staff and teachers employed by boards being sacked. It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
You know, things are really coming off at the seams, huh?
Thing is bursting, and it's bursting proper.
Just when you think you hear this and then you hear another, then you hear another. Anyway, let's go on with the headline.
I mean, it's about lack of planning, so watch our pangwe. And Daily Nation, killed in 21 days. This is all about femicide, and those are images of around 8 individuals, women who were killed in the past 21 days. In the first 3 weeks of the year alone, the nation can establish that at least 15 women have been murdered in a new spiraling wave of brutal attacks, sometimes perpetrated by jilted lovers and spouses. Teenage girls have not been spared either, while a Kenyan banker working in London is also a victim. Who will act on these killings is the big question, and sad to see is that there is a 13-year-old who was killed on January 19th. Now, you have forsaken us, Isiolo residents cry out as wildfires devastate pastures. Residents say they have been trying to put out the fire for the past 7 days and hit out at the National Land and the county governments for neglecting them. Now we go to matters to do with health. Relief as supply of vital vaccines restored at last. Kenya has ended a 3-week vaccine stockout with a distribution of 2.3 million doses of BCG and 7 million doses of measles rubella vaccines to regional depots. Finally, our children will get the vaccines that they need. And Muturi's cabinet intrigues followed Public Service Cabinet Secretary Muturi, who on Tuesday skipped a cabinet meeting chaired by President William Ruto in Kakamega, has not been to his ministry office for the past 10 days. Amid reports he was no longer welcome at State House. Seems like the doors have been shut for Muturi and Omanyala's golden year, big sponsorship, high-end cars, and a dream home. Is the second fastest one in Africa, or is it the fastest one in Africa?
I believe it was the fastest in Africa.
And probe 150 million shillings bonus Ruto gave cane farmers. Okay, so there's a scandal in that bonus that Ruto gave to the farmers. That is on page 7 of the Daily Nation. City, what do you have?
Did he actually give, or did he promise to give?
And he dished out some checks, so I'm assuming they're going to be cashed in.
And the bonuses were to the farmers?
To the farmers, yes.
Okay.
So there's a story up and down.
Yep. Atrocity.
Yes. Let's look at the Business Daily, shall we? Nairobi satellite towns post slow growth in land prices. I mean, there's a growth, but it is slow. Stanbic faces license threat on airline row. The Bank of South Sudan has threatened to suspend Stanbic Bank's license over an ongoing dispute over millions of shillings deposited in a Kenyan Airlines bank account and later reversed. Okay. KPC reprieve as court lifts bank account freeze. The High Court has lifted an order freezing a bank account belonging to Kenya Pipeline over an alleged 670 million shilling debt. Okay. Higher domestic borrowing risks lifting interest rates. Okay, this is according to the CBK. Efforts by CBK to bring down interest rates in the economy are set to be tested by a 32% increase in the government's net domestic borrowing in the coming fiscal year. Okay, an increase. 32% increase.
Of what?
Borrowing. So whatever percentage that is being borrowed now is set to increase by 32%.
Yeah. Yes.
32% is huge. It's a lot of percentage. Right. Former Treasury debt chief back as senior, back as in they were away, now they have come back as senior advisor to Ruto.
Who's that?
Well, his name is Dr. Harun Sirima. He's the former Director General in charge of public debt management at the Treasury. And he has made a comeback to public service as a senior advisor to President Ruto just 4 months after his exit and a fallout over the credit sustainability concerns.
Wait, advisor of what?
He is now a senior advisor to President Ruto.
So he's on that council of advisors?
Yes,
that where,
he is.
Moses Kuria and all
these
people
are. It appears that the President of Kenya is on track as competing with one President
Wairimu
when it comes to having advisors.
Yeah.
But he has a long way to go.
Because Wairimu Museveni has upwards of 140.
Yes. Yeah. You see, this is a man who understands. I support President Wairimu Museveni, but 100%. Please have advisors, by all means.
Okay.
So, brother, President Ruto, it's okay. You're on the right track.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Can we hit the 100 mark, say, by the end of February, maybe, so that, yes, we can give brother Yoweri Museveni a run for his money.
Yeah, plus we have the budget. Our economy is good.
Our economy is...
supports having advisors.
This guy's just recently returned to the country. Court awards double. This is a problem. Where have they doubled? The awards against states have more than doubled to 44 billion, meaning those who have taken the state to court and have won, 44 billion is the total that is supposed to be forked out by the government. By the way, just in case you don't understand, the same taxes which is supposed to build roads, same money where this 44 billion is supposed to come from. Question really is, how did we get to the point where that amount of money was owed? Okay, the Star. This is one of the most bizarre things I have ever seen, heard, read. City man found with wives. Remember, we read the story yesterday. With wife's thorax to be held for 21 days.
That's such a strange statement. City man found with wife's thorax to be held for 21 days.
Remember, I read the story yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Body parts were found. They went to the house. The head had been. It's one of these genuinely bizarre stories. And yet, when the story is told by those who said, the man was actually unperturbed. He did not seem ruffled. Yes, said yes, he had killed the wife because he had found the wife was having at least with another man. Yes, and he then took them to his house, and that was that.
Don't you realize how really deep we've gone into this thing? If something that would be so bizarre is just treated and explained away as normal.
It's being normalized.
It's normalized completely.
How can this be normal, really?
This is the problem. And if you see something like that and somebody is explaining it to you as though he went down the street and bought a loaf of bread.
In fact, he just went down, to the kibanda just next to him.
Yeah, no biggie. But what you've done is that you've taken life. And I keep saying, do you know how... I watched the documentary, I'm just going off track just a bit. And they talk about how difficult it is for one human to take the life of another. It is not an easy thing to do.
It is not.
It is not an easy thing to do.
It's a seismic shift.
I'm telling you, everything shifts physically, emotionally. Everything shifts. And then we want to explain it away like, no biggie. Yeah. See, she had an affair with another guy. So what did I do? I just killed her.
Just killed her, dismembered her, and carried
no
the thorax.
Fear, no remorse,
nothing.
There's a problem.
And on top of that, they are in the last 21 days. Okay? 21 days this year. Forget the deaths of women in last year. This one.
Today is 23rd city.
In the first 3 weeks of the year alone, 20.
Yes.
Look at in 21 days, how many?
Yeah.
No, come on.
It's like
something wrong.
Every day someone has been killed.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
Okay. Counties face probe over misuse of public billions. Yeah, we've heard this before.
Yeah, okay. So they're going to face the probe.
Right, okay, fine. We've got it. Preaching unity. No place for shareholding politics. Ruto tells XDP. Okay. Will Sakaja succeed where Kidero and Sonko failed? No, he won't succeed.
Asked and answered, people. Asked and answered.
No, he will not succeed.
Okay.
He will not.
Ruto
bill to unleash EACC on graft lords. Okay, fine. Allows home search without court orders, corruption cases to be concluded in 6 months.
Okay.
This one, you wait and see. People are going to be crying wolf, and they're going to be crying all manner of things here. 84 CEOs and political bigwigs stare at losses in new reforms. Those reforms of collapse, retrench, parastatals here, dissolve, unite, all that. 84 CEOs will have no job.
But the president has assured people that they're not going to lose their job.
Yeah, I mean...
Wait.
But City, why are you talking about 84? See, we need advisors. Can be absorbed elsewhere.
We do need advisors. The jobs they had are the ones they won't have.
They could get others.
Yeah.
Others could be found for them. But you know them, they had jobs. The people who actually haven't had jobs since the time they graduated from college, they've not had a job. And none of these people whose pictures I see here are young. These are ancient crocodiles. These people have worked for a long time. Perhaps people who haven't worked at all should be given
a chance.
Yes, perhaps.
What you reckon?
Yeah, these fellows, nobody's young here.
For goodness gracious.
Yes.
Okay, let's come back and look at some of these stories in detail after we take a look at what's happening with traffic. Lots of stuff happening in the country. Chambua tukirudi. Sindio?
Sir.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so a little bit of traffic. You're stuck as you're getting into the city via the Thika Superhighway and coming out through the Pangani Underpass. That's the most of what we'll see in that area, at least for now. Coming off of Ngong Road, which was terribly busy yesterday, we're just seeing some movement there as you're coming in from Naivasha Road. You're touching on Ngong Road. Some folks heading through Riara and then out towards James Gishiro, so that's not doing too badly for now. At the junction, however, coming in from Ngong Road, heading towards Community, we're going to see some traffic there as well, but not too bad. On Langata Road, not too much happening. The Uhuru Highway heading out into the city doesn't look too bad either. A quick look at Outer Ring as you're touching on it coming from Kangunda Road. Kangunda Road, as usual, will have some traffic. As you cross over from Manyanja Road towards Jogo Road, there's traffic there as you head towards the Makadara train station. So it looks like we're getting an early start to traffic this morning. Hopefully, starting early will end early as well. We're all here for it to see what it is that is in store. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Okay, so let's look at the politics of this thing, right? So Cabinet Secretary Justin B. Muturi skipped a meeting. He's been away from his office for 10 days. There's speculation flying out of the woodwork as the dust settles on the implications of the cabinet meeting presided over in Kakamega by President William Ruto on Tuesday. Questions still abound over why the controversial Public Service and Human Capital Development Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi skipped the crucial session. I don't know that he's a controversial man. It's possible that the statements that he made could, invite some controversy. So that, I think, the Standard had gone behind the scenes to establish why Muturi, who was publicly criticized for his boss and the government over the abduction of government critics, gave the meeting a wide berth despite critical issues affecting his ministry being featured. Now, although highly placed sources indicated that the CS was not formally invited to the cabinet meeting, the government, through Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjao, maintains that he was invited just like other cabinet secretaries and neither intended nor gave reasons to abscond. Now, sources and allies close to Muturi intimated to the Standard yesterday that he did not receive the brief from Wanjao as per the standard operating procedure. The question is, did others receive it or did she send one blanket meeting request? The brief, according to sources, is usually sent to cabinet secretaries detailing the agenda and expectations for the respective dockets, which are then presented to the cabinet. My being in the cabinet WhatsApp group, Muturi only received the general invitation message from Wanjao, but he did not receive a personalized brief on the cabinet for his docket, as has always happened in the past. This is not a mere coincidence, as it comes in the wake of Muturi's revelations about his son's abduction and putting blame on the president and national intelligence boss. But you have to ask, did the remaining 21 members of the cabinet receive this docket that he's talking about? Because if they did not, then this argument is moot. Mm-hmm. If everybody just received that one message, then you would say, okay, fine, maybe this time Mercy Wanjao decided to just do this one general one and she would get to it later. But unless you're able to establish that everybody else got the detailed invitation, then maybe you don't want to argue on that. Look, but it doesn't run away from the fact that, yeah, there is some tenderness here, and him maybe being out in the cold is one to look into. What that will mean in the future, we can only speculate. But let me tell you, I can smell it from a mile away.
Mm-hmm. What can you smell?
I thought we were good. A mile away.
A mile away. Mm-hmm. Okay.
What you've just read doesn't even constitute what we may refer to as an intrigue. If he didn't attend, okay, he didn't attend.
If he was not invited,
okay, he was not invited. If he says procedure wasn't followed, okay, it wasn't followed. There are more pressing matters in the country, and this is definitely not one of them. one minister didn't attend a meeting. How can that possibly be important?
It's not that he didn't attend the meeting that's important. It is the undercurrent as to why he didn't. And this is the thing that we want to ignore most times. We don't want to deal with the thing that he opened his mouth and said some very, very critical things about the state of security, about governance, about leadership. He said them. But what you want to do is call him a rogue CS and throw him under the bus and roll over a couple of times, engage reverse gear and do it again. And we're ignoring those issues completely. Now we want to reduce it to his absence or his presence at a cabinet meeting, and that is not the issue.
No, there's a term I often hear being used. It's called collective responsibility. When you are a cabinet minister, what we call a CS now, it is assumed that you will toe the collective line that everyone is towing.
Absolutely.
And the towing of that line involves you are not speaking in any way that it can be contrived to mean that you're critical of the government.
No.
Okay, you have spoken. You've opened the door for us to discuss this matter. Okay, we'll discuss it. But let me repeat, it is not the most important thing happening in the country right now that requires our attention. Our women, our girls are being killed. That's important. People are still sleeping hungry.
Oh yeah, they said they're going to send capitation by Friday.
Yeah. When they send it and the schools acknowledge they've received it, we will know. And we will also know the amounts. Okay?
CCT, when we talk about Muturi's intrigues with the government, I mean, he talked about his son being abducted. Abductions in this country is a daily conversation. Each and every single parent and every Kenyan pretty much is not sure of whether they will get to wherever it is they're going, whether they will spend the night in their homes, because abductions are there left, right and center. And the government should tell us what it is they're doing about it. You've formed this committee to look into whatever. But how about you give Justin Muturi a proper report on what happened to his son, why his son was abducted? Because that is a fact, the son was abducted. And the government being an institution that is supposed to assure each and every citizen their right to security, failing to assure Muturi and his son of security, I mean, we're dropping the ball. The issue is not him missing the cabinet meeting. The issue is, what are you doing about the issues he raised?
If we go back to the issues he raised, that is something we must continue discussing.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there are people, citizens of this country, abducted, and we still do not know where
they are.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter at whatever level, whether everybody's on the same side or not, that the government really has to release its grip on this penchant it has for sweeping things under the carpet. It is an issue. It's an issue. It must be dealt with, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That story?
Perhaps something that Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen should address. Where are the missing Kenyans? Not just be quiet about it. And while at it, femicide crisis alarms 15 women killed in 3 weeks. It started as an act, then became a habit. The habit seems to have become character and risks becoming destiny. While Ralph Waldo Emerson intended evolution to inspire and better humanity, it has shown a morbid side as Kenya grapples with steep rise in murders targeting women. It is in the first 22 days, the year alone, at least 15 women have been murdered in what seems to be continuation of a trend close to 10 years. The murder of a 14-year-old grade 7 pupil in Garissa last Friday is an indication that even minors are not safe, as Kenya now risks having femicide as part of its character. The suspected murder of Marianne Kilonze, 43-year-old, who was found dead from blunt force trauma at her home in London on the same day, Friday last week, is an indication that it neither respects national borders nor social status. We have a 43-person committee to look into femicide. That was formed by the president.
Yep. To look into it, it's unfortunately, it looks like another task force that will sit, maybe travel, maybe, deliberate and then write a report. But then what will be done about it after that?
My question really is, if you look at matters to do with femicide, this is murder, and it is a question that should be handled by the police and investigative agencies. I mean, why are we forming a task force, yet we have institutions that should investigate and give us a report that we need to take people to court?
Because there are other undercurrents, I guess, because you want to look at them. So femicide obviously is the murder of women. Are there societal or are there community issues that need to be dealt with? What are you going to do after that? Institute some kind of psychological help at different pain points? What are you going to do? Because of the fact that it is an increase in this particular person, in this case women, then that's why it becomes okay. Then we have to do something about it. It's just like when rape cases were going through the roof in the early 2000s, and then you decided you wanted, and it was not just in Kenya. That's when you had your different black spots. Remember when they would put the different signs in different parts of the city, so don't walk here at night, kind of thing. So it raises an awareness that's necessary. Same thing happened in Johannesburg, where there are certain parts of the city that you can't walk in. You shouldn't walk in as a woman, and that came as a result of the fact that they realized so many women were being raped. So they came together and said, okay, we must do something about this. What can you put in place to ensure that 1, 2, 3 doesn't happen? I don't know that you would be able to do the same thing when it came to femicide, but then maybe as a result of that, you will now have a nationwide, citywide, countywide kind of awareness and say, these are the things that you should watch out for to protect yourself and the things that you should watch out to protect your women, It really depends, but they have to have that in the foresight. It can't just be another task force to do something just because there was some kind of alarm that was raised.
Because remember, there's a task force that was formed and was headed by former Sigei, Maraga, police reforms. They gave their report, gathering dust.
I mean, what are we talking about? Isn't that the thing? That we have a whole cupboard of task forces gathering dust. Things that they've done.
We have a history of it.
Yeah.
And you have task forces dealing with things that other task forces have dealt with before.
Yep.
And there is no indication whatsoever of what was done with regards to actioning what the previous task forces had said on the particular subject. And there is no indication that you're carrying over or you're taking up the mantle from where they left off. It's just that it's a new task force. So it's like, there's a problem. Why don't we throw a task force at it?
Yeah, it just seems like the
so
thing.
that it appears we're saying, look, we're doing something about it. And we are doing something about it is embodied in a task force. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look at this now. This gentleman who butchered his wife. I guess you'll share that story with us, CT, in just a bit. But what are we talking about? You had a task force which was tasked to find out what the mental health burden was on Kenya. They did their work.
Yes.
They came back. They gave you a report. They told you, you know what? Actually, what you see is maybe 1,000 times worse, and you need to declare this thing a national emergency. Has it been declared what?
No, it hasn't.
Has anything been done?
No.
Do we see that maybe at the community level, we see that you have resident psychologists, psychiatrists, when you go in for a checkup, check your mental health? Have you seen anything like that?
No.
Not been done.
These societal units that we took for granted, which in themselves provide a check and balance in the way we conduct ourselves, if they've disintegrated or they've been dismantled or they've dismantled themselves if they can, then it means that the check and balances that guarantee the safety of people's minds and the way in which they behave towards each other, that it starts by being relaxed until it is now gone. Because someone doesn't start, being a few eggs short of a dozen in one day.
No,
the signs are there.
No, come on. You don't wake up in the morning and go butcher somebody. You don't do that.
No.
It's premeditated. There are other things that
in such details.
Nah.
People get angry, they lash out. We've heard of people being killed, what they call crimes of passion, in the moment of anger. You kill someone, chop them up into distinct pieces.
And walk with the body part.
Come on. There was something going on.
Yeah.
You were not at the beach yesterday and then come back today and decide, oh, okay, it's a good day to murder somebody.
Yes.
No. It just doesn't happen like that.
Or that bug that normally infuses these things into you, bit you, and then suddenly you metamorphosized. And this Jack and Hyde situation, it isn't that.
Yeah, and let's not forget the fact that there's an individual who was arrested, taken to Gigiri, and walked out of that police station and has never been arrested.
No, but now he was extradited back to the United States.
No. There's a different
the
one.
young man.
This is the guy who allegedly had killed someone in the US. Remember that one? Forget that one.
No, not that one who walked out.
Quarry.
Oh, Quarry, yeah. No, see, see.
Yes.
See,
No.
yeah. The quarry story.
You've actually done the right thing. These things are so many. You can mix them up.
But the quarry story also, now you start to ask, because remember, this fella was found in 16 hours.
Yes.
They found him, found phones, found SIM cards, found everything.
Confession.
And then now, confession 1, 2. Then he disappears and nobody can find him.
Yes.
See, you know, the mental health that we're talking about, you think it's affecting people who have actually butchered everybody, people who are walking around and you assume that they are normal.
Let me tell you, what do you think happens to the police who have to deal with these things on a daily basis? The decomposed bodies, this issue of body, all these things. The very same police service whom we understaff, we under-resource, they're supposed
overwork.
Overwork, overblame. They're the ones who are supposed to, housed in pigsties. These are the people who you are expecting to carry this heavy burden of ensuring that these things don't happen. Really? In which parallel universe?
Yeah.
And you want to say everything is okay. It's not okay, my friend.
Man, this thing is far from being okay. This thing is really far from being okay.
Yeah.
This mental health thing, something must be done. It has to be done. Because you know what? Look at the stories that we're looking at today. This fellow who butchered his wife. These cases of femicide that are rising. Do you think the people that are taking the lives of these individuals are all right?
13-year-old.
They're not okay.
They're not. It's not okay. They're not okay. And then we look and say, okay, let's form a task force. Yeah, there's a broader responsibility that lies here. I'll take it a lot more seriously, I think.
We have reports. Action it.
All right. These 84 CEOs, it is okay. If we do what IMF has instructed us to do and you lose your jobs, it is okay. You will just join the other Kenyans who don't have jobs. Yes, it's really not complicated. So that is the begin and end all of what I'm going to say on that particular subject. Yes, I'm not going to say more on that particular subject. I've said what I need to say. And there's, let's look at this story of death, since we're talking death.
Yeah.
If you look at the second page of the Nation, there are 4 people who get 135 years jail, and if you accumulate all the jail terms, why? These 4 people are accused of targeting elderly women and killing them because they said they are witches. Okay?
Who are witches? They themselves are witches, so they must kill people, or the elderly women are witches?
The women.
The elderly women now.
Yes. They received 40-year sentences. Okay? The court found them guilty. Okay? If we just move on that same page, you find 2 politicians among 5 to be quizzed over Molo activist murder. Okay? Remember, there is a gentleman who was killed, Richard
Otieno.
Yes.
Remember that
weekend,
one?
yes.
Yes. The guy had come from watching a football match at a cultural establishment in Elbagon town, and he was at his gate. He was attacked. The man died. Okay. If we look across this Nakuru County, just look across on the other page, on page 3, Lake Nakuru. A scuffle, a protest. Somebody had disappeared. Apparently, the fellow had been arrested by KWS officials for illegally fishing. Nobody has found him. He hasn't been found.
Oh, Joe.
People were protesting. While the protest was going on, it so happened that some firearm was discharged. Somebody got shot. You think this story is bizarre? The really, really, really bizarre story is actually to be found in the Star, where a border rider and his passenger are disagreeing over something, and the man who is a passenger happens to be a military person, confirmed by KDF. He discharges the weapon. A lady is shot. She dies.
Stray bullet, yeah.
Yep. That bullet doesn't know it's straight, by the way. We're the ones who are calling it a straight bullet. It goes the direction that was the gun was pointing to. It can't be business as usual. We can't be in a country where everything is good. When every day when you look at the news, there are people who are dying needlessly. People who didn't need to die are dying.
Very sad.
People who are just going about their business, so to speak, are dying. Some are being killed.
I'm sorry, but for me, death is it's a huge thing, and it's that we deal with it as though it's not especially, and we're not talking about natural death, right? You were ill, the body was unable to recover, and then you gave up the ghost. No, we're talking about somebody taking life. So I keep coming back to that question where we say, what value really do we place on life? What value do we place on life? That people can die and it's just another statistic. That people can be killed and it's just like nothing happened. That these murders take place and we're just like, okay, yeah, well, and on to the next. Nah, I think there's something fundamentally off the mark that we really need to take a minute and look back and say, what value are we placing? If we realize that the value of human life is actually up where it needs to be, and we're not just talking about these murders, by the way, we will start to begin to look at things wholly. That you then should make sure that your sick are taken care of, your children are educated, your development is up to scratch, that you're not stealing, money that's meant for other things. What value do we really place? And I think those are questions that we must walk away with. While that's happening, Kalonzo Musyoka has accused the president of insincerity on the cane bonus. You know cane? Watu watamu.
Yes, I am aware.
You're aware?
I am aware.
Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka has lashed out at President William Ruto over the 150 million sugarcane bonus issued to farmers. Why? Was it not a good thing that they should be receiving this bonus? You ask why? Okay. He spoke yesterday after the party's National Executive Committee meeting in Nairobi, and he said MPs need to probe the source of the funds. They're giving them a bonus for 150. We've been complaining forever that these people should be given their money. Now they're given their money, and now you're telling them that, where did you get this money that you're giving them? I urge all MPs to be alert, like Mumia's MP Peter Salasya. We need accountability. Where is he now, President Ruto, getting all this money from? If it is a bonus, it needs to come through the due process in terms of profit. But this is not the case. We know that the funds are from the exchequer. We need accountability, and we are not going to allow this. This is like a bribe.
Who said that?
Kalonzo Musyoka.
But that, I think he was quoting Salasya.
Salasya said that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and we are saying it is bad to bribe.
He quoted him, but he agreed with what he said. Essentially, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed dismissed Mr. Kalonzo's statement, insisting that the bonus issued to farmers is as a result of reforms carried out by the government in the sugar sector. Understand?
Understand.
All right. He said President Ruto has repeatedly stated that the main problem in Kenya is leaders who seek popularity at the expense of transformation. So now you're trying to talk and make it seem as if these people have not done what they're supposed to do. And it is, you're just looking for, Nini. His decisive interventions in the sugar sector have borne fruit, and the progress has been well documented for everybody to see. It has borne fruit. They've done what they needed to do. They put all the elements in. They have harvested sugarcane, and now money is out. And then we've given the farmers bonus. What do you people still want?
There's a problem here. Why does the president allow himself to get into a debate with members of parliament? This is an agricultural docket. The moment the president speaks on an issue and responds to what somebody has said, he has opened up a Pandora's box. So he's going to be addressed directly, and it is not necessary. We have an agricultural minister. Let him put his foot in it.
Let him be the one to answer and say, yes, now, this is what we did. At the beginning of the year, we had 3 stalks of sugarcane, and because of agricultural reforms like giving farmers fertilizer, and we've looked at the acid
and this thing has changed tremendously.
And in fact, it even rained. Now, from 3 stalks, we have 3 million stalks.
Yes, exactly.
People harvested sugarcane. They've sold it. They've made sugar. They've had byproducts that we've been able to put back into their... And then we've made money. Pesa sasa ndio tumepatia watu.
We've just given them their bit.
So what's the problem?
Well, Salasya asked the president, where is this money coming from? Has it come from the exchequer or from Mumia's sugar company?
Jamani.
Do you remember the last time you saw Mumia's sugar on the shelves?
I saw some just before the end of the year, actually. A few packets.
Are they crushing or are they just repackaging?
That's a good question.
Let me give you an answer to that one. Is the sugar coming from Mumia's?
Or from Brazil?
I don't know.
There could be a place in Brazil called Mumia's. After all, in Portugal, there's Lagos.
Yes.
So, I mean,
it's possible.
Very possible. So, what's wrong?
This thing, I don't know why the president has to put himself at the forefront of all these conversations. he will be addressed directly, and he doesn't need to be addressed directly. Then it becomes an argument between the president and a member of parliament and another elected leader, and it is absolutely not necessary.
Yes.
It now becomes an exchange of words, which again is absolutely not necessary.
And you see, the president appointed cabinet secretaries. There's a cabinet secretary for agriculture. There's a PS in that docket who can equally just go and give out these bonuses and explain where this money is coming from. But he chose to get his hands dirty. It's fine.
It's crazy. Some of these things really can be explained away by the person who's in the particular docket to be able to do so.
There are many such people.
Yeah.
Very, very many. There are even advisors.
Even just there is a new advisor that was put there
and
yesterday
even the
can answer
CEO
this
of
question.
Mumia's sugar company to explain the profits and then the bonuses. I mean,
let's see what happens.
Why don't you let even the members of parliament for that particular area do that talking for you?
Peter Selassie is
Those
asking
are questions.
the question.
Okay, it's coming to the top of the hour. Dagoretti North MP will be in the hot seat when we come back after 7.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The families whose convicts, 3 men and a minor, were found guilty of the gruesome killing of 4 elderly women in Marani, Kisii County 4 years ago and have been jointly sentenced to 135 years behind bars are now contemplating an appeal. Nyakundi Amos Ondieki, Evan Sogeto, Hesbon Ongondi and Crispin Makoro committed the offence on October 2021 as part of a mob that linked the elderly women Jemima Miranga, Agnes Ototo, Sigara Onkare and Sindege Mayaka on allegations of practicing witchcraft. High Court Judge Wairimu said Kierie, Ondieki, Okari and Gishana were each sentenced to 40 years in prison, while Makoro, Ondieki's son, was sentenced to 15 years after the court established that he was still a minor at the time of the incident. Moments after the judgment, affected families and human rights organizations expressed their satisfaction with the final verdict.
Tunatoa shukrani kwa serikali yetu kwa vile imefanya uamuzi mzuri. Kuangalia vile wengine wajifunze nao pia wakuwa huko nyumbani nao walianza kujigamba wakati walitolewa nje, lakini sasa wameshindwa la kufanya, manake wamefungwa. Ni kuonyesha kuwa nao pia wasifuatilie mambo mengi, wawache tabia mbaya, manake hukumu iliyotolewa leo ilikuwa safi kabisa tena mzuri.
The convicts, however, disagreed with the judgment and sentence, and their families expressed frustration, stating that the ruling was against their expectations.
Kwa vile kuongea kwangu kutoka undani wangu, hakuna hata mama mmoja niligusa hata kwa nguo namna hii, kwa vile sikukuwa na nguvu yoyote. Hiyo judgment imefanywa na nimefungwa saa hii miaka 40. Hiyo miaka 40 kwangu mimi nimeona ya kwamba ni mbali sana. Kwa vile saa hii niko na miaka 53. Sasa nikiongeza hiyo inaona ya kwamba hata Mungu angenichukua hata leo ingekuwa vizuri.
Judgment ya leo kweli ilikuwa ya dhuluma. Haikuwa fair.
Detectives in Mombasa have arrested 3 people for robbing 2 Russian nationals of 2.5 million shillings while posing as Airbnb attendants. The 3, Mutegi Mbeti, Dixon Otwera and Humphrey Nyairo, were smoked from their hideout inside an Airbnb at Bada House in Mwembeni area of Kisauni sub-county. The Directorate of Criminal Investigation says that sleuths from the Nyeri sub-county office had been tracing the suspects following the reports of a robbery. The 3 were arraigned before Shanzu Chief Magistrate Court, where detectives were granted 3 days to finalize their investigations, and the case is slated for mention tomorrow. Now, the wildfire that has been burning Isiolo grazing area in both the north and south constituencies has now entered the 8th day. Every resident say that they've tried all they can to contain the inferno but have not managed. Sericho area chief Mohammed Rashid and a grazing committee, Ednah, says that 40,000 cows, sheep and goats and over 10,000 camel have been affected by the fire that has burnt over 30 kilometers of grazing land. And finally, a Nairobi court has been granted police 21 days to detain John Wambua, who is accused of brutally murdering and dismembering his wife, Joy Frida, just 3 weeks into their marriage. Wambua, a carpenter, was arrested on Monday this week near Kelly Towers in Huruma during a routine police patrol. Officers stopped him after noticing his nervous behavior and a heavy backpack, which upon inspection revealed mutilated human remains. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a quick look at what's happening with traffic now, getting through closer into traffic hour. We're seeing some traffic coming in from Naivasha Road, and it's touching on Gong Road right about now. It looks pretty busy, and also as you look at traffic then coming in through Community, it's also starting to pick up as well. Langata Road has a little bit of traffic as you're getting towards the city, but then Gong Road takes most of it for now. Mombasa Road is pretty busy as well, but it's not holding up anywhere just yet. The Eastern Bypass busy, and also looking at traffic coming in from Jogo Road heading on towards coming in from Manyanja Road, but it's also busy on the Thika Superhighway now and coming in from Garden City. Then it's flowing through, but it's going to slow down as you get towards Survey and then out into the CBD. All right, let's see what happens as we get into traffic hour proper. Just getting on to the beginning of that. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
Are you ready to become Kenya's next biggest music star? Do you have what it takes to compete with the best and walk away with over 1 million Kenyan shillings in grand prizes? Auditions are open for Kenya Star Search on Saturday 1st of February and Sunday 2nd February at the Nairobi City Charter Hall from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come through and show us what you're made of. Proudly sponsored by Skiza, Techno Kenya, Sunlink, Wairimu Kenya, and Boomplay.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
7 after 7 o'clock into Kenya's biggest conversation into the second hour this morning, and getting into the intrigues of what's basically happening here in the country and indeed around the world. Audiences on YouTube and Facebook are streaming on X as well. Karibuni sana and welcome to our audience on KTN. All right, as we get into this hour, the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, Beatrice Elachi, is here. Happy New Year, Mheshimiwa.
Happy New Year. How are you?
All right. Doing all right.
Good.
Yes. Yourself?
I'm good.
Good.
I thank God.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Thank you for joining us in the room this morning.
Thank you.
First of all, even before we get into things, because we know there are things to get into, Mheshimiwa. I want to tell you about a platform called Tujajiri. You must have heard about it. You may have heard about it.
Yes.
Dennis, give us some more information about that.
Yes, and the Tujajiri platform under KCB Bank and the foundation there is out to sort out the unemployment situation that the country continues to find itself in. Over 1 million young people getting into the labor market annually. And KCB says, fine, there is a problem, but we have a solution to it. And what solution do they have? Taking the young people, putting them to school, and upskilling the skills that they already have, making sure that they have something that is ongoing for them. And Tujajiri combines vocational skills training. We talk about business development training, access to finance, and business mentorship. And mentorship, that means solutions, giving these young people a mentor who will hold their hand and make sure that their business continues to grow and continues to do well. And even after that, giving them equipment that will enable them be able to start their business. So it's about solving a problem with tangible solutions and making sure that these young people become entrepreneurs and their businesses are doing well. KCB.com says for you to get this information, you go to kcb.com/foundation.
Indeed. All right. So, Moshiwe, you know how we welcome you, isn't it?
Yeah.
CT will tell you what today's proverb is. And let's see if you can link it to, anything that could be happening, how you would interpret that today.
We are in the Republic of Rwanda.
Okay.
Country of 1,000 hills. Maybe even 2,000.
It's possible.
Today's proverb is actually fairly simple and straightforward and not difficult to interpret. Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret.
Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret.
Pregnancy and fire. I can put it now in our own context, that as much as we do all these things we do, for example, even governments, the way we say, government says we will do this, we will do this. At that time it's pregnant, and then the fire comes when you decide nothing has been done, and you've been saying, and you can't hide it because at one point it will come. The same way, that's the negative part of it. The same way, as much as you want, they will do, and there are a few things you can see. So it depends on how you look at both. But I think it resonates very well. It's like a young student who tells the mother, I'm going to school every day, but the day of exam will come. And that day now, when the fire comes, you realize you never used to go to school even. You find yourself wondering, what happened to this child? So it's the same.
It's the same thing. Okay, well, then we could start asking questions and say, different things. There have been different points around which you've been very clear and very vocal on some things as concerns governance in the country. Most recently, and we can just jump right into it, most recently, you said that, everybody seems to be complaining, more or less. Everybody seems to be complaining about everything. And if you find that, look, this is not working for you, then you can leave.
Now, you see how you say it in English. So let me say it in the Insha of Kiswahili.
Okay.
The way I said it.
The way you said it.
Yes. So I just stood and I said, wewe kama unaona hii nchi ni mbaya, si unahama. Lakini kama unajua hauna nchi ingine, haswa wewe Mkenya mwenye unachukiwa Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, unajua hauna pa kuenda, hii ndio nchi yako, so ulinde nchi yako. That's all I said. So if it was a Swahili Insha, I think that Swahili Insha would have been very different. It would have meant, all I'm saying is be very careful, because you as a Kenyan, you have nowhere to go. So just take care of this country and let us not use... And why I said it, let me say it today, because I know many people didn't understand. I said this because, number one, many people went to the US Embassy, complained so much that they have been denied visas. But they did not know the reason why they were being denied visas. And the most sad part is when the children went to World Scholar. And my child was also there. So they went to World Scholar in Europe. When they arrived there, yes, they had their children. So they will do as we do at home. And they started saying, the president has to go when they are there. And these guys in Europe wondered, you came here, that's the creativity you brought here? And it was a very sad thing, because at that time, some young Turkish student started fighting with them, telling them, you can't come here and do this. And after that, anyone who is a student who wanted to go to Canada or US, it was just like a verbal, quiet. They were all denied visas. Even the ones who were going for World Scholar in the US, all of them were denied visas. Very few were given visas.
Tell us a little bit about this World Scholar. What is it?
The World Scholar is where kids just, you compete. And so the best ones, are able to now you go debate, you go write, you go, speech writing, be creative. Some do science, some do arts, just like that. But it is under the Yale University in New York. But then, even without that, sitting down now with everyone from the different embassies, they were very worried with our students. They were very worried. They were saying, how sure are we? You see, like in Canada, when you're going, they give you're supposed to go and work also to take care of yourself. So before you leave in Kenya, they'll give you the residing card, they'll give you, that opens up your doors. But they're wondering, you who is very aggressive here, how are you going to appreciate, as much as they have freedom of their own, that we normally assume are much higher than ours? But those are some of the things. Now let us come to East Africa. So we go down and we meet Mama Slow. And she says, wajua nyinyi wa Kenya sasa mahali mmefikia. Jamani, hata kuandika mtoto wa miaka 38 kurudi chini Kenya, tunaogopa kwa ajili ya tabia hii yenu. So are we helping Kenya? We are not, because an innocent parent who doesn't bother so much about the things we do here just walks to an embassy, and at that time it's $300. It just goes like that. And because of implications of other people who even maybe they are not even caring to go anywhere. They are just, so there is need this year. And to make it so sad, McGill University, where I'm an alumni, they just removed 90% Kenya. They took all the students of Ghana, and Kenyans were taken until you wonder, okay, what's the problem? But so, they tell you, when you go there, they give you so many reasons, and you're like, how do we change? How do we, use our media the right way, use your social, knowing very well, whatever you do on it, nowadays they also use it at the embassy to check you. Because they ask you, especially when you're there with your daughter or son, they tell you, no, ma'am, let her answer the questions, which is true. She needs to answer the question. She says, do you have a social media? Yes. Yeah, are you on Facebook? But you don't know, in the end, all those things she has asked, she's gonna check. So what you're saying essentially is that you don't know what you've done there and how it would affect your chances of getting the visa. If we can now take that and put it on the national scale, I'm hearing you say that the expression of Kenyans, let's look at it over the last 6 months, that the expression from Kenyans in terms of what they've been saying and how they've been saying it, we're not even talking about whether there's merit in what we're saying. We're just saying that what they've been saying and how they've been saying it essentially is hurting the country at an external level rather than helping it. Is this what you're saying? Yes, and you see, it depends how we express. So let me say this. So if you express, like now we are talking about gender-based violence. So if you're a young man who likes just using very interesting insults of body language, of what, if you go and somebody looks at it, wouldn't you think you are you're a perpetrator of gender-based violence? Because they don't know. You see, the problem is our young people don't know that you when you start calling me some very interesting, not just me, anyone, so you're angry, so you say this, you say this, you say this. But someone is wondering, if you're at that level, there are two things. Can you do it physically? The African part, we won't care. But the Muzungu part is like, is he okay? He will even say you have a mental problem, and maybe you don't have. But she or he there will think, you are a perpetrator of gender-based violence. This is how you'll be abusing your wife, your girlfriend, your what?
In fact, even as simple to understand it, in the West, a simple comment that many African men like. Yeah. You're referring to a woman, and in your conversation, that lady whom we're with, you remember that MP or that CEO, very beautiful woman. You already marked as being sexist. Why are you focusing on her looks? Why? Yeah. Why aren't you focusing on her ability or on what brought her there? Believe me, to acquire a tag is easy. Very, very easy. Because, as you say correctly, most of us on this continent don't understand how the rest of the world views, especially the Western world, what we think is normal.
Okay, so when we're talking about these tags and we're saying, because it's clear that we've seen certain things. I mean, I think the most recent is when we saw that there were petitions to the royal Dutch in the Kingdom of the Netherlands to say don't come to Kenya. There have been things like emails or letters to the IMF. There have been letters to the American administration. I mean,
even letters. To all nearly 7 or 9 presidents saying that Baba should not be AUC chair.
Okay, so many of those things have been happening, and if we put that in context with what you said, I mean, it was very clear, Mheshimiwa, that you said, they're critics of the Ruto administration, and you said he's our father, he's the one who's leading the country, so we should accord him the respect. Kenyans are asking, how does this play against what they feel are genuine concerns about what is really happening in the country? Do you respect at the expense of things that people are asking for, accountability, good governance, etc., etc.? Where do you draw the line?
Well, I draw the line on this way. I will critique William, even me myself, and tell him what is wrong. Absolutely, this is wrong. And at the same time, I don't need to go in the abuse to him. No, I just need to tell him, look, this policy you've just brought, it doesn't make any sense. It's not moving the country. In fact, what it is that you are not also understanding that I think all of us we forgot to understand that there were consequences we were going to go through of post-COVID election. Post-COVID. And these consequences needed to have been understood right from the top. That indeed there is no way you can tell Kenyans to just get into all the things we will want to achieve, but at the same time forget they closed for 2 years, and not just Kenya. I mean, the whole world closed for 2 years. And so there was a need of affirmative action. And I remember when we were really pleading at that time, we said, let's ensure, yes, we put in these things, but give us 2 years. So put it in the law, yes, but allow it to mature. After 2 years is when we start now, because we will have seen how people have grown back their businesses, especially the small entrepreneurs, the medium entrepreneurs, and all that. Now, when they refused that, that's okay. But then now, going forward, for me, you see, last year, we talked about William until we forgot even we have families to talk about for ourselves. And I'm like, this year again we start. I need to talk for something else. I need to think. But he's the president, yes. So I need to talk to him when I'm looking at what solution can we get for now these challenges that we are having. That's the most important thing. Because even if we talk all this, we finished 1 year. He has not given us a solution. We have started. To remove him is good. But you must have a plan. You can't tell me we'll remove him through here. No, we must sit down, organize ourselves. In fact, if we are talking and asking the president right now, where is IEBC? And asking the courts, why have you decided to put it also in the courts? It's just hanging there. Why can't you release it so that we know he's the problem?
But questions are being asked, Mheshimiwa, yes. And this is the thing.
No,
questions are being asked. Kenyans are asking.
He will wake up and tell us that IEBC, I finished, it is in court. That's what he'll tell us. And that's what they're saying. So we want to plead with the courts also that, look, this case that was in Kiambu, I don't know where, can it just be removed so that we see and we start this IEBC, we start this matter of new registration so that we know now we are headed to remove William.
Now, Mheshimiwa, you mentioned something earlier in terms of we need to protect our country. And the citizenry, according to the Constitution, are sovereign. And all they are doing is telling the government that is there, that this is our country and we will protect it by putting you in check. Pretty much. That's
well,
what they're
I
saying.
thank God has brought Trump. So this is our country, and we must put it in check,
and while at it, we have seen a lot that has happened, and Kenyans feel as though the institution that you serve in, the National Assembly, has reduced itself to just being a rubber stamp of what the executive wants, and that is why Kenyans are speaking.
Okay, Dennis. So 25th of June. In fact, I'm not supposed to be in Spice. I'm supposed to be in a grave somewhere, isn't it? But I voted no. But if it was a bomb, I would have gone to the grave, isn't it? So I'm wondering, do I just work for Dagoretti North? I think that's what I'm doing nowadays. Work for Dagoretti North, because they voted for me and told me these are the things we need. And I'm doing my best to ensure those things are done. They have that's what I'm doing. Because I realized I became a realism and left the liberalism, because I asked myself, so we fight for all these things, but we don't even understand. And even the things we are doing, nobody will tell you, oh, this you did, yes, it was wrong, it was this. That's the challenge we're also facing. So even the ones who were supporting, on that day they awakened themselves. And they asked, okay, what is best? Isn't it just going there and start, the way we say, start small, and if you're able to change that place and change it better, the better.
We are a fairly respectful lot.
I know.
Kenyans
that one
are
I know.
Respectful. Our children, if we brought them up well, are also respectful.
Oh, yeah, very.
So what is it that makes our children go abroad and say things and do things, even the ones who are here, write letters, do this? Clearly they are angry.
Yes.
What are they angry about? Why are they expressing themselves in a way that some people say is abusive? And why are they doing this persistently? There is a reason. Because prior to this, we didn't hear all these things in such...
True.
It wasn't this loud. It was there, but it wasn't loud. Why did it become loud? First of all, let's start with those of us who are their parents. Where did we drop the ball? Because clearly, the amount of anger that is expressed in everything that we're saying has to have a genesis.
Yes.
Have we taken the time to address that genesis and say, this anger emanated from this, and why don't we look for ways of addressing it? Because if we don't address it, that anger will go nowhere.
And
if
the
anything,
answers,
it'll increase.
And the answers that we've heard, unfortunately, to those expressions have not been, all right, can we see where we can solve the problem? The answers to that expression, essentially, have been, you have a disobedient lot. You have poor behavior from this lot of people who are complaining. We will deal with them in one way or another without looking at the issue. And so now when any kind of answer to that sentiment comes out and says these are bad behaved people, and we're not looking at the issue that they're actually raising, because it's true. Some of the things that we talk about, isn't it true? Isn't it true that taxes are high?
No,
isn't it true that there's a problem with the health system? Isn't it true that children who are going to school have a hard time? You know this because I know very well that in your constituency, for example, you're fighting tooth and nail every day to make sure that children are in school. You know this. Is there not an issue when people go to immigration and they can't get their passport, something that's a right, that you should have identification for your country? Isn't it true that these are issues? Isn't it true that there's mismanagement of funds? Isn't it true that there's corruption? Isn't it true that there's a threat to insecurity when people are abducted? These are true. They are not things that people have conjured up in their minds. So when Kenyans open their mouths to express, and the answer that you get is you're abusing the president, you're disrespecting the president, we'll deal with you. The issues have not been addressed. How do we deal with that?
So let's say, for example, let's just go back to where we started ourselves, because we grew up in the era of Moi, and we had many other issues. But then, having said that, as City says, we just need to ask ourselves, as parents also, where did we drop the ball? Because I'll tell you, it is also very sad. Even when you go to school and you find children, I feel I get frustrated sometimes, because you as a parent, fine, you have come, you have decided the child is here, fine, and I tell you, So why can't we meet at the center so that we help this child? And I've always told parents, there is no way you can tell me a child will come and appreciate if you don't even buy a pen. That you want to have, what the child must see something, a blessing from this parent, something that he gives and shows her, or that indeed you're going to school and I'm part of you, and I'm there for you. But I know because of the challenges we are facing, I'm also not blaming parents, but it's a sacrifice. But I'll tell you, if you walk into some of the schools, you will feel sad also on what parents have done to children. And maybe because of that growing up and that environment, this child has too much anger. And when you sit down with them, they'll tell you very interesting stories, which you just ask, so how do you solve in society? How do you deal with this? We no longer have, our days we were better. You will come, you will go somewhere, there will be some activity for you to do. Like give an example of Nairobi. So children, even the field itself is not there for playing this football. It's not there where he can ventilate or mix with others. So the playing ground went. Everything went that, and for us, we had an opportunity because we had somewhere you'd go, run, play, and maybe even it was part of your therapy of how to deal with yourself. But children, I'll give you, for example, Nairobi, they have no place for therapy. In fact, the schools that we have is where now the communities believe children can come and play there. Now, if you find a teacher who is not understanding that, it becomes very difficult, but they have no choice in integrating. No, they have to understand we have no field. This is a field. The only thing we will take care of is to ensure that they don't damage the school or anything. But trust me, it's not as we think, because right now we have young students who have just finished school, and they came. 5 of them came when I was just giving forms for bursary. First of all, 2 of them came. Those ones were 2 years. They had gone to their polytechnic, their Tibet. They decided to defer. And so they come and tell me, Mama Dago, I just want to go on a boda. I said, why? He said, no, I deferred because now of school fees. I said, now you are deferring. What did you get? I got a B-. I said, no, there's no boda you're coming on. We are going back to school today. So you see, if you don't have also someone who can try and realign, everyone is thinking, every young person believes the boda is better because I'll go and start doing some work. But he forgets there will be consequences of the years to come on the same boda. Because
when they look into the future, what do they see? See, this is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
their future, for them, they don't think future.
Even if they thought, Mheshimiwa, what would they see? Because if you have siblings who even went to university, 5 years down the line, there is nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
They can't. And so they've got into that very sector, border. They even have a kiosk with their degree. Some have the means, go and acquire a postgraduate degree.
Yeah.
They're still back where they were. Now, this younger sibling who's watching, and how are you going to convince this person to even go to university? They'll tell you, this thing.
No, by the way, you just sit with them, I always tell them, I'm not saying don't do a boda. I told them, you'll do a boda part-time, but you're still going to finish.
You see what you mean?
And at that time, because I told them there will be a time everyone will have a boda. There will be a time that everyone will feel, my means of transport, I would rather have a boda. So when we have those bodas, who will you carry? You will carry yourself. And so, yes, you can have the boda seat, but there must, I always tell someone, just finish, have that certificate. Because it's a TVET, it is different.
I'm not understating the efforts you make, because somebody has to make some effort.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do something, and there are people who are doing something. I'm talking about a larger problem. And the larger problem has to do with policies that are beyond you as a representative of the people of Dagoretti. You see? Now that falls squarely on Parliament as a body and the executive. See? Because if we haven't realized that our education system guarantees the problems that you are now dealing with at the level of your constituencies, and that if we don't tweak it and ensure that students understand that this education system that we are being given, like this CBC, if it were implemented in totality, this problem you're talking about
will go.
Yes. But will it be implemented in totality?
We have to take a break and maybe can come back and look at that. But I just want to say, I think that the Kenyans that have been, essentially lambasted, for lack of a better word, over the last couple of months for complaining, actually want a better Kenya.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
All of us.
They want it to be better. They want governance to be better. They don't want to be disappeared. They don't want corruption to eat away at the very fiber of society. And I think that's where the complaint is coming from, that they desire a better Kenya. And so how to get there, I think, is, what are we going to do?
It's an individual person.
Okay, well.
Each of us.
I guess so. Dagoretti North Member of Parliament, Beatrice Elachi, is our guest this hour, and we're looking at, yes, she did make some statements and said, look, we all have to work to make it better. Let us take a break and look at weather and traffic, and then come back and continue the conversation right after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
And the weather right now in Nairobi, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Kakamega, highs of 30 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 24 degrees. In Nyeri town, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. In Nakuru city, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 12 degrees. In Lugari, highs of 25 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. Across the borders to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highs of 24 degrees and lows of 9 degrees. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 27 degrees. In Mogadishu, Somalia, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 23 degrees. In Paris, France, highs of 8 degrees and lows of 6 degrees. In China, highs of 6 degrees and lows of -4 degrees. And in London, highs of 9 degrees and lows of 3 degrees. That is the weather. These are good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Spice up your life.
All right, so traffic is starting to build up on Jago Road, and we'll go towards Landis with some traffic right at Kamkunji. But more of it we'll find as you come off Langata Road and head out towards the Huru Highway. That's pretty busy. But as you come off further down Langata Road, it's also pretty busy here as well. Southern Bypass not doing too badly. No traffic here at all. And then also looking on the Eastern Bypass as you find your way through towards North Airport Road, and then you get into what's happening right around the Cabanas interchange. Some traffic here as well. On Outer Ring, you're touching on Kangunda Road. And let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway, where traffic now has built up significantly well beyond Garden City. And there is some traffic on Outer Ring trying to join the Thika Superhighway. Kiambu Road, also some traffic there. It's going to clog up just a bit. It's also very busy with some hold up on Waiyaki Way, as well as Spring Valley, Lower Kabete, Limuru Road. All that starting to build this morning. So we're going to keep an eye on things as we step into traffic hour, and we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, #The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In the hot seat this morning, Dagoretti North Member of Parliament, Beatrice Elachi, and we're looking at, the expressions. We're taking some of these issues into consideration and saying, just that question that CT asked just before is that, look, Kenyans who've been complaining, where did the protest start in June last year? It's because they said, look, we can't do this. It's too difficult. There needs to be a better intervention by the legislature. There needs to be a better intervention by the president, because this is what you promised Kenyans. So in the event that Kenyans start to complain and say, because we always say, hold your leaders accountable. What way do you do that? The world has given you a platform upon which to do that, which your leaders will read. Social media is there. Yeah. That's what you're using to say, look, it can't continue like this. But then when that happens, we know what happens. Kenyans are disappeared. They're abducted to be asked questions somewhere in a hole somewhere. Or they are being told again by the same leaders who are supposed to be representing them that no, you cannot speak like this, that you can't speak like this, you shouldn't be disrespecting the president. How do Kenyans then keep leaders accountable for the things that they said they were going to do?
Well, they will speak to their leaders and they will tell their leaders where they feel what is wrong, that is right. And the leaders must also bring in the solution. You see, when we were closing Parliament, I remember we had to just reduce some of the tax bills just to caution now all these things that, and especially it goes to the salaried Kenyans. I think they're the ones who have carried the biggest burden, and they're still carrying because it's their salary that is being deducted. But at the same time, what government needs to do so that you cushion also is to bring in a better way of even collecting that revenue. It's for KRA now, and I'm hoping through Mureithi they can come up with a better way of appreciating the client, who is the Kenyan, who brings in the resources that now goes. But having said that, now we are all of us in an office somewhere, and especially in government. And I'm given an opportunity to be a procurement officer. And I'm a Kenyan. I can hear how Kenyans are saying. Why can't I just do the right thing in that office? Is another question. Because it doesn't just start. It's a process. All Kenyans who are in this process, is there a way they can just do it right? So that you make it right. You'd rather do it right and say, okay, I'm about to be sacked because I did it right here. And come out on social media and tell Kenyans, look, I've done a tender that is coming to this amount, and I am about to be sacked by the president or by whoever because they need money for this corruption. If every Kenyan comes out and just says that the right way, won't it work for Kenya? But because all of us are in the same culture, which we need all of us to come out, that's why we are finding ourselves in this challenge. And I'll say this, when I used Nairobi County when I was speaker, how come there are many things we tried changing and some of them changed, some we couldn't because they didn't want. And that's the day I realized it's not about I can be given millions here, I'll do nothing. Just the same way we have members of parliament, you have CDF, but you'll still find and you have been there for 20 years, you've been there 15 years, they are member of parliament, but your children are under a tree. So it is me. The problem is me who's been given that privilege to serve at that time. And so every Kenyan must start thinking that way. Because I'll tell you for sure, if we do it ourselves, slowly by slowly, how come in Kiharo, something is happening that is not happening in any other place? But they say it's the same CTF. Yeah.
How should Kenyans address these issues? Because, we say in the right way. How should Kenyans address the issues when you see things are falling through the roof?
Be in an office and turn around.
But they're being asked to be polite and not insult the president and not be disrespectful.
Now, when the president is being insulted, his whole team is being insulted anyway. See, they are the ones who have the opportunity to serve, because he also will not be able to say, I will be in the Ministry of Agriculture, then turn in the Ministry of Education, then turn. No, there are guys there. And we are saying, for example, right now, the Ministry of Education. So we gave you a budget, we finished. What was this that you could not just give? And you knew very well, a procurement process in government stays like for 3 months. If you knew year 9, because in some areas they are still saying we've not received.
Yes.
What was just the problem to start earlier in July, August, do your procurement process. When children close in November, you are able to build the classrooms and finalize, and in January you hand over. What was so difficult? That one you ask the guy in the Ministry of Education, because he's the one who has brought us into the mess we have. It's not about the money, it's not about the what. Money was given, you have the highest budget than any other. That's just an example. Now let me give you an example. I have different head teachers in schools in the Greater North. And I will tell you, each school, when you walk in, you will know, here is a head teacher focused for her school, would wish to see a good school, and she's doing it. And I'll give you an example of State House Primary. State House Primary, when I joined Dagoretti North, was under a different teacher. In 6 months, Dorothy comes in after we changed. And you walk in today, she's closer to Nairobi Primary. It is me. It is us Kenyans, especially those who are working in government at the level of a level that you know you can hold a policy read and you are able to use that policy to change. If we decide, we will change. If we don't want to change, it will remain the way it is. It depends also, because I realize in government, it depends also with attitude. It depends on the key person who is the CS there. If also you don't have a way of appreciating those who are also working with you, and it is there. I realized when I went in at one point, I walked into offices and they told me, for the years we've been here, we've never seen somebody at this level working in this office. So how will you know even how your staff is? How will you know even whether they have desks or they are just in a junky place? It went down and it demoralizes how they want to work and all that. It's the same. We have interns coming in. They sit on a desk. If you are not there to assist them and tell them this is how, they will just sit on a desk the whole day.
Mheshimiwa, this is the culture we have now, and we're discussing and we're looking at what it portends, but there's the question of how we got here. You see, the accountability factor and the trust factor go hand in hand.
Yeah.
The voter abrogated their rights. Before this constitution, we didn't have some of the rights we have now. But when we elected a leader as Kenyans, we left it to the leader to do the right thing. Many did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it isn't just the people we elected at the constituency level or at the ward level. No. Examples are usually set from the top. So you find that a culture develops over time.
Yes.
And because of the survival instincts we have as Kenyans, you don't want to be very different from other people, because then you stand out and it may cost you your job. Yes. So you comply.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is leadership that indicates to you that it is okay to do the right thing, then you do the right thing. And that applies to very many people who are in the civil service. We witnessed this during the Kibaki era. We saw it. Things that you never thought you could see, you saw.
Yeah.
Okay? People were actually doing what they are supposed to do. But here we are.
We just went back to 2002.
Actually, it's like went back to the previous century.
Yeah, where we started.
Yes, exactly. And then it's even worse. You see, this government inherits a lot of rot from the Uhuru government.
Yeah.
That Uhuru government had, we have a presidency now, not a president and an assistant, we have a presidency.
Mm-hmm.
This current president can't run away from what they did in the previous government. Because now it is on his shoulders.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, those things are daunting.
Yeah.
And the complaints that you're seeing, children have parents. They tend to be observers. They watch the pains the parents go through. They can see it.
Mm-hmm.
They watch the difficulties the parents go through. And at some point they realize, these parents are not hot at a boy. They can see. When people who ordinarily are respectful become insulting, as we're being told, you really have to ask the question, why are they being insulting?
Why have they taken it to that level?
Now?
Yeah.
Why have they taken it to that level?
Well, they are all our children.
Yes.
We have them in our house. They will tell you. And if they're able to, they tell you. They tell us.
Yes,
this
they will
and
tell
this
you.
And this.
We have this problem and this problem and this problem.
Yes.
And when it is articulated, they are right.
No, they are right.
They are right.
Yes, and which brings us to the next spot, where it is the young people have spoken, pretty much the citizenry of this country, because we're talking about 70% of the population have spoken, and they've said the way the country is going is not the right way, and we need you guys to fix it. We've tried to demonstrate, you've beat us on the roads, you've made us disappear. We will go to the social media. You will find us still there, but we will still talk. And when you talk about what social media is doing, have you seen how the young people talk to the President of the United States? In UK, it is the same story.
Yeah.
It is a question of talking to power and power reacting and doing the right thing. Mheshimiwa, people of Dagoretti will tell you each and every single day that when they are along Gitanga Road, there is a place called Congo that needs to be fixed. They will tell you in person.
Yes.
They will tell you on social media.
Is there a place called Dandora?
Oh, yes. They will tell you that they need these to be
And then I will go and tell the governor. And then, because the other challenge is also, because of that anger, nobody knows what does the governor do, what does Mheshimiwa do, where are my roads.
Actually, that is the governor's job, not yours.
So now you find yourself, but sometimes you just have to take it. That's why I was saying it is me. So when I know Amboseli is not functioning, I'll be there, by the way. And I have tried. They know what I have done, but also I get angry with my same citizen. You do a whole Gitanga road, and just because of garbage, you decide to destroy the whole road again, and you just feel, honestly.
You see, Mheshimiwa.
So when we are down there, we know how we are moving. But when you come now to a function that you know, this one, I now need to move at this level to push either the county to do it or this. It becomes another game board.
Mheshimiwa, do you think if people understood that when leaders are held to account, they will do what they're supposed to do, that they would become destructive? If they knew that this is what happens, they would actually approach the same county government and say, excuse me, this thing is not working. They would even do it on their own.
Yeah.
That is, if they knew action would be taken. Yes. But they know action will not be taken.
No, that one is true. They know. And especially, they get frustrated.
Yes.
So sometimes even when you go there, you are also frustrated because you've just come to talk and there's no action you will do.
Yes.
But then also, the same citizens will tell you, let us just try our best, ourselves, what we can do. And as we normally do, garbage has become so much, they will tell you, we will now, Mama Dago, let us use our young people to put them on them. There was a time we wanted to collect everything and bring it at City Hall. Then they called me, the county said, no, we are coming to carry. Now the governor has promised, yes, now they will have trucks and all that. So we are waiting.
Promising.
We are waiting.
Since they got to office.
We are waiting.
So are Kenyans
that the trucks will come and will collect garbage.
Okay.
The most important thing, and that's why I was saying, if you do a few things, I'll tell you in Dagoretti North why I'm able to say I can walk. I don't need to drive in. I'll walk, say hi to my people, meet them on Mombogas and everything. It's because when I tell them we shall do this, I will do it. And when I tell them this we cannot do now because of 1, 2, 3, they know. And they will not push me. So what Kenyans are angry about is when you say, today, you repeat the same thing. Tomorrow, you repeat the same thing the next day. Nothing is moving. That's where they are getting angry. But if all of us, even starting with the president, you will just say, I will do Nakuru Highway. Don't do anything else. Just do Nakuru Highway. People will start feeling, okay, fine. You said Nakuru Highway. We agreed. We have seen it. Now let's move to the next. It would have been better. But the challenge, even as politicians, all of us, you go and say so many things knowing very well. First of all, where's the resources?
So why do you do it actually?
So why
why do you do it?
Yeah.
Because I think it frustrates the situation just a little bit more. That folks already feel that they're in a depressed state and they're making they're making the noise which is necessary to try and hold leadership accountable.
I don't know how to do that.
So then how do you...
I like saying what I know I will do.
So
and I'll give you I'll even tell them, don't ask me the time frame, but give me by this time. Trust me, we will have done and we will have finalized. And we have done that for the last 2 years. I think it has saved us a lot. Where we have said we can do, we have done.
Do you think Kenyans should sustain this? Because this is one way of trying to keep folks accountable. They keep saying, usually if you want a door to be open, you keep knocking on that door until the person on the other side opens it.
All I was trying to say that we need to now is don't go into the abusive that does not make sense. But a campaign that is sustainable on an issue, you do it. Everyone will appreciate that. But don't put yourself into a situation where the anger will take you to a different
where you will break the law.
Yeah, don't do that. Or where people will wonder, okay, are you okay? Is there something wrong with you? Don't. But to sustain, and tell the president every morning, you told us this and you have not done this. You've told that is okay, and it is needed, because that is what now pushes every leader to know that you must work for the things you say.
Take an example of a campaign that was concluded with the inauguration of a new president in America. The question that you asked about promises. He made promises, didn't he?
Yes.
That is political currency. Politicians say things they are going to do, they make. Now, this particular president came in, did many things. We have focused on how many executive orders he signed, someone doing the others. The question is, when this particular president speaks, who do you think he's addressing?
He addresses those who believed in what he was saying.
Precisely. As a constituency, he is addressing.
Yeah.
If you look at his campaign, it was quite simple. He just scared the living daylights out of his would-be campaigners by talking about people of color.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
These Mexicans next door here.
Yeah.
These Hispanics and what we refer to as black people, who are actually brown, taking over.
Yeah.
Well, you see, it's really not complicated. Because if you look at the demographics, there are those who argue the majority of these so-called new immigrants tend to be Democrats.
Democrats, yeah.
So, if they are that huge in number, what do you think happens when election time comes if they are citizens? So, this is voter suppression in a very clever way.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yes. But he is focused on whom he is addressing.
Yes.
And the people who he knows will vote for him.
Exactly.
Now, here...
And he has signed all the... by the way, what he said, he has done exactly to what he told. And they celebrated.
He has kept his promise.
Yeah.
Now, you may have a debate over it. That's a different discussion altogether.
Exactly.
Now, you've actually got to my point. We have a situation where promises were made, and the question is that they are not being kept.
And
that is the bane.
Yes.
For me now.
And it is, these young people we're talking about, the promises were addressed to them.
To them.
They were the constituency. Okay?
Yes.
They were the constituents. They are the ones who are being addressed.
Yes.
They were the hustlers.
Yeah.
Yes. And
in Western and Nyanza, I don't think we were in the hustlers. We were in another level.
And you see, right now...
For us, sometimes we look at it and we wonder, what are you telling us? I screamed at bombers. Scream also. If you go in a political contest, that's what they will be telling you. And that's why sometimes you find us wondering, we told you, we said we will get into all this madness. You felt we were not saying right. It's the same way. In America, they will have good and bad on the consequences they made. And so it's the same. And that's why you find when I'm an ODM member, when you're telling me, I'm wondering, the way I screamed up, down, and you told me Baba is not fit, Baba is old, and all that. Now you want me again to scream and start telling you agreed. When we told you he will not do, you said he will. So how do you want us? So that is in a political. But now when I look at my country, I get out of that political, it is done. Now it's how do we ensure the president delivers? It's critical. Yes. And that is why sometimes people will say, but people don't know 2 years, for us who have been inside there, we've looked at a few things. Right now, when everyone is angry and saying all the things they're saying, Murima, we look at them and we wonder, when we walked into this parliament, if we were to go on war, it would have started in parliament. Because we were looked at very bad people. We were treated in a manner until we wondered, where did we go wrong?
Right.
This is politics. We are finished. And we told them, I remember sitting down having tea with a few of my friends, ladies, who were in Kenya Kwanza, and I told them, in 2 years, the president is going to change this cabinet. He will now refocus because he will realize he has finished playing politics. The country has to move. And they thought it was a joke.
Okay.
And so, and it's because the way you take that excitement when you take over government, the same way America has now, there are some things that definitely in 2 years you'll see.
I have to ask you this question even as our time goes down, because Kenyans are wondering, still on that statement, we're going to end it with the first thing that we started with, that you say if you're not ready to build the country, then and if there's another option for you to take that, essentially leave. Are you still of that thought?
Well, no, I said in Kiswahili. You see, in Swahili, it means it
means something else in another language?
It means, in Swahili, ni fumbo umeanza nayo, na kuifumbua, ukawaambia hamna inchi ingine. You know, it was a very, the way I did it, it's in my Swahili, which I got, by the way, a good in it.
Okay.
Kiswahili chenyewe. Kwa hivyo, kwa Kiswahili ukiisema, itakuwa tofauti sana kwa Kiingereza. Tofauti sana.
Okay.
Maana yake, and then, also, let me be very honest. If you say something, before even you bash or you say, why would you just take the first line? Why can't you give also the whole statement?
Give it
how
context.
I say it?
Okay.
Yeah. The school we went and the school he taught us is context is very important. What was the whole meaning? And that was because I was in church. By the way,
yes,
the
you were in
good thing,
church.
you know, you've now started. You've realized I never ran away on something I said. I carry it as my responsibility. Kwa Kiswahili nikifumbua ni jambo tofauti sana.
Dagoretti North Member of Parliament Beatrice Elachi has been our guest this hour, just looking at very many things. Thank you for always being here when you are. Asante sana. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah. Ubaga High Court has temporarily suspended orders requiring Police IG Douglas Kanja and DCI boss Mohammed Amin to appear in court over abductions of the Mlolongo 4 on Monday next week. Judge Chacha Mwita has, however, issued orders directing Kanja to disclose the whereabouts of missing Wajir Member of County Assembly Yusuf Hussein Ahmed within 14 days. The Dela Ward MCA, who went missing more than 5 months ago, is said to have been abducted on September last year along Enterprise Road in Nairobi's industrial area. A month after his disappearance, a body was retrieved in Lake Yahud, which was believed to be the missing MCA. Family members and locals thronged to the morgue to identify the body that was badly tortured and decomposed, but 2 independent DNA tests later determined that the body was not that of the MCA. Now, the university's academic staff union is set to announce the beginning of a strike by its members at the Technical University of Kenya in Nairobi. In a press release, UASU has stressed that it will officially launch the strike today and urge its members to boycott work at the university due to the university's management disregard for their demands. The workers are complaining about what they claim is the non-payment of their December salaries, among other financial related issues at the university. It should be noted that the issue of salaries for university staff has become a problem in the past and even led to the strike at public universities recently, leading to the disruption of academic activities. And still in education matters, NAT West Pokot Branch Secretary General Martin Sembello has raised concern of a lack of food across schools, especially in the border areas of the county. Sembello says the situation is worsening and affecting the number of students who are attending classes, urging the government to address the issue as soon as possible.
Walimu wakuu wote katika kaunti ya West Pokot wamekuja kwamba ndo andaa kupeleka kotini na watu ya suppliers, na ni pesa ya NACONEC ndio asijafika katika account zao. I'm giving an ultimatum as a secretary of West Pokot and Rift Valley region to make sure that watu ya NACONEC with minimum delay but maximum release those funds to our schools. Hapa kuna njaa. Let not somebody misconstrued West Pokot kwamba kuna chakula like other places in Kenya. Kwa hiyo that one is a contributing factor pale tunasema ya kwamba wale watoto wanaenda boarding kukula nini na suppliers wamekataa kusupply chakula katika mashule zake.
And Bungoma Governor Kenneth Lusaka has warned contractors who are awarded contracts to build schools who are building schools doing a shoddy work. And Lusaka says his government will not pay for construction that's not done with the required standards.
Tunapeana contractors pesa ya kujenga classrooms zetu, but this is not what we are paying for. We can't. Mimi siwezi kubali at 5.6 million na mtu amejenga kitu kama hii, na itakuwa funzo kwa wengine wale wanafikiri wanataka kupora mali ya county na kutengeneza vitu kama hizi. Hapana, that we cannot accept. Na sasa nataka niulize ministry, mtembee kabisa mali iko makosa kama hii turekebishe. We cannot accept this.
He has also urged county governments to focus on their responsibilities to strengthen early childhood education and the various colleges, saying this year they've invested 23 million shillings to fund education.
Hii bursary na scholarship tulikuwa tunafanya, lakini tulikuwa tunafanya kazi ya wenyewe. It's also a social function, but again it's legally it's not our function. But we shall see what we can do to negotiate kule juu tuone vile tutaweza. But if we can equip our ECDs, if we can equip our VTCs, hiyo ndio mandate yetu kubwa sana. Na niyo sababu nimekuja roll hizi vifaa ambayo tuna roll leo is a total of 23 million ambayo tumeweka katika ECD this time.
And finally, in the international scene, Turkey has detained 11 people as part of an investigation into a fire that killed 79 people and injured dozens at a ski resort in the Bolu Mountains. A deputy mayor of the northwestern Bolu province, the head of the municipality's fire department, the owner and the manager of the hotel were among those detained. Several funerals were held on Wednesday for the victims and of Tuesday's blaze, including numerous children. The fire forced panicked hotel guests to jump from windows in the middle of the night. The bodies of 45 victims were handed over to their families, and forensic DNA tests were being conducted to identify the others. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu. Traffic.
Okay, so a few minutes after 8 o'clock, and let's take a look at what is happening with traffic. There is some of that on Langata Road as you're getting towards Aerodrome Road and then out onto Huru Highway. There is also some traffic as you come off of Jogo Road heading towards Landis and the Kamkunji roundabout. We're looking at some traffic still heavy on Waiyaki Way and certain parts of Ngong Road. Ngong Road started off and said today we're doing like that. And it's also busy on Waiyaki Way. We're coming in Lower Kabete Spring Valley with some traffic as well. And on the Thika Superhighway, we saw some traffic coming in from the Outer Ring Junction, still continues, and as you pass Survey is where we'll see a bumper to bumper situation. It's busy on Kangunda Road, and as you get to the junctions, traffic is going to hold. Also then, as we take a look at what's coming off of the Eastern Bypass, there is some traffic then heading towards North Airport Road, and at that loop to Embakasi, we'll have some bumper to bumper action, but all in good stead. Let's see what happens as we go through traffic hour, and we'll talk on Spice FM. KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
Are you ready to become Kenya's next biggest music star? Do you have what it takes to compete with the best and walk away with over 1 million Kenyan shillings in grand prizes? Auditions are open for Kenya Star Search on Saturday 1st of February and Sunday 2nd February at the Nairobi City Charter Hall from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come through and show us what you're made of. Proudly sponsored by Skiza, Techno Kenya, Sunlink, Wairimu Kenya, and Boomplay.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
8:08 this morning, and continuing with conversations this morning on this 23rd of January. Our audiences around, thank you so much for still being here. And remember that our live streams continue, and our audiences on KTN Home, on KTN as well. All right, so we're getting into a conversation this hour, and our guest is already seated. Stephen Mate is the Education Senior Program Manager with the KCB Foundation, and he's here with us today. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
You're in the hot seat of the Situation Room, and you'll be looking into some insights that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Actually, the last 3 or 4 weeks, when we've been looking at how, folks are able to use their skill and match this skill to opportunity. Most times, the skill and the education components, they don't seem to meet. And then the opportunity is somewhere out there, but then somehow, the KCB Foundation has been bringing all of this together to then be able to ensure that folks can, have a shot later on at their career. So as we go and dive into that conversation, some of the things that we'll be talking about today is, AI, artificial intelligence. We had a big conversation about this yesterday, but then looking at what it can actually do for education. So, we're very excited to have that conversation with you today and looking at some of the insights we'll be looking into. However, let's welcome you properly to the Situation Room. CT has proverbs from the continent. I'm sure you must have heard of them. And he will give us the one for today. You tell us what you think about it and how you would interpret it.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the Republic of Rwanda, whose capital is called, it's written Kigali, but I'm told that's not how it's pronounced. How is it pronounced?
Kigali.
All right. Okay.
The K has a ch.
The K has a ch to it.
Sound.
All right. And that's a country with a capital whose K has a ch. That's good. Okay. The proverb. Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret.
That's an interesting one.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. When I look at the two, pregnancy is a good thing because it brings life, but you can't hide from the public. Fire is a good thing because you not take food without the fire. So both of them, you cannot hide pregnancy, you cannot hide fire.
Thing about fire, you try to hide it, smoke comes out.
Oh, yes.
So now you really know there was fire. Okay.
Indeed. Can't be hidden. Will be out in the public, out in the open. And one of the things that can't be hidden today as well is technology and what it's actually able to do. And we'll be looking at some of those. Preserving, human agency in a world of automation, some of the things that we'll be looking into. But let's do an overview, of the KCB Foundation first of all, and what it is that the mandate is to be able to do, especially through this education sector that we've been talking about most recently.
Yeah, KCB Foundation is a CSR arm of KCB Group. And KCB Group, as you know, is the largest bank in East and Central Africa, operating in 7 countries: in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and DRC. And KCB Foundation is mandated to operate its CSR activities across the 7 countries that I've mentioned. And we run, the foundation's strategy is to run 2 main programs. One is the KCB Scholars Program, which is mainly the high school scholarship program and the tertiary scholarship programs within the KCB. And we call it the KCB Scholars Program. I'll be able to reiterate more about it. The second is the Enterprise Development Program. In this pillar, it is commonly known as Tujiajiri Program.
Yes.
Which is a youth skills training and enterprise development program. And this is a program that cuts across all the markets that I've mentioned where KCB operates in. And the main focus is education for employment. Thank you.
Okay. Education for employment, that's interesting. Apart from education for anything else, the collecting of skills and talent and all of that, putting that together. But education specifically for employment. So are we saying that we're going to, under the Tujiajiri program, we will send you to school, or we will give you some extra training for 6 months, like what we see, in order for you to go work somewhere, or in order for you to create your own work? So it is targeted specifically for that, and so that you can then earn. Is this targeted education? And if so, why that specifically?
If you look at the two pillars that I've just mentioned, I'll start with Tujiajiri. What we do is a demand-based education.
Yeah.
We first look at the demand that is available at the market. And mainly this is technical demand that is required out there in the market. And what the foundation does is that it looks at that demand, working with the industry specialists, and thereafter create programs that would solve the solution for the market. And we've seen Tujiajiri program running 5 main pillars in agribusiness, which is the powerhouse of this nation. We've seen in beauty and personal care. We've seen them in construction value chains, within domestic pillar, and lastly ICT, where in those pillars, that is where the demand is currently. And what we're doing is providing the solutions for our industries, for the artisans, the doers of the work, to generate and create employment for themselves and change communities.
Okay.
You mentioned CSR. I want to go back to basics. A banking institution whose business is to buy and sell money primarily, why go into CSR? Why?
Very good question. Organizations, in most cases, provide solutions for the market. But those solutions, you must empower the communities that you serve to be relevant to those communities. And that is why KCB Group in 2007 was formed, or rather KCB Group formed the KCB Foundation in 2007 to be able to intervene and create solutions for the communities that it operated in at the time. And over the period, we've seen a number of programs tailor-made for the communities. And we've moved from the traditional CSR to what we are calling, that is corporate social responsibilities, to corporate social initiatives or investments. Because we are investing on the communities and giving them the power, empowering them to be able to bank on themselves first before they come to the bank. And that is the purpose of Tujiajiri, where we give you the technical skill, we link you to the industry, and once you get a job, then you've got money in your pocket. And what that happens is that then you are able to bank with the KCB.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what informs these initiatives? You have a community, there are processes and programs that the bank has undertaken. How do you arrive at a point where you feel this is what is needed?
First, we conduct a baseline study just to understand what is it that the community requires. And in that baseline study, then we are able to get to know the right fit intervention as a foundation. And that's why, if you look at education as a pillar within KCB Foundation, it is able to cut across all the 47 counties in Kenya. When you look at agriculture, it's only agriculture as a crop. It is only to particular counties in this country. And that is why within that those counties where agriculture can be done, that is where we have interventions related to agriculture as a crop. But agriculture in terms of animals, the ASAL counties, that is why we operate the Mifugo ni Mali program, which is only tailor-made to fit that community for the pastoralist community, where we do, value chain addition. We do a lot of interventions on increasing the productivity of the animals, and thereby empowering them.
Let me throw you a curveball. The communities that are traditionally known to be pastoralists, yes, they keep livestock. There are communities that are known to be agrarian. Is there a possibility that it could be considered that these communities could inject within themselves the things they don't have? For instance, Could the pastoralists not also go into agriculture? And could the people who are essentially agri-based not also consider being pastoralists? And could a program not be fashioned to ensure that this balance is actually created?
Very good question. Because what you do as a foundation is that we do not go to create from scratch every infrastructure. And when you go to such ASAL counties, in most cases, you'll find there are limited resources, particularly on water and other resources that are required in agrarian kind of agriculture. And so what KCB Foundation does is to leverage on the existing infrastructure laid by the government of Kenya and also within the county infrastructure, and leverage on the existing resources to be able to grow and bring more value than it would have realized were it not for our interventions.
Okay. So
there is what you've mentioned in terms of not building the infrastructure from the ground up. That means there is need of collaboration with the government, the counties, and other stakeholders, pretty much, including the institutions that are there, in making sure that your initiative gets to achieve its purpose. So in terms of scouting which institutions to partner with, this one is well suited to achieve our initiative or our goal. How do you settle on we will partner with institution X?
Thank you. KCB Foundation does not work in isolation. What we mainly do is to look at like-minded partners, both private and public, to be able to invest on the communities that I've just talked about. And in most cases, when we're implementing these programs, I look at the private development partners that are within this country, national and international private partners, who come on board to put in resources to be able to intervene on the communities. For example, we've worked with MasterCard Foundation, whom we've implemented projects within this country. We've worked with the organizations like GIZ, among other organizations, where we are able to impact positively on the communities. Looking at the implementation phase, we partner with the government of Kenya, mainly within the ministries. Like when you talk of the education, we are partnering with the TVET, with NITA, with the Ministry of Education, among other stakeholders within the government, to be able to provide the hands-on skills, leveraging on what the government can be able to provide. Additionally, we are also partnering with the county government, particularly on the job, the linkage to the job opportunities. We've said we provide the linkage, the demand-driven opportunities, after which, once we identify that demand within the county, during the onset of the partnership, then we are able to link those youths to the job opportunities using the partnership opportunities that we identify.
Okay. So then, obviously, knowing that there are opportunities, whether they'll be provided at a government level or in a corporate level, private sector level, so those opportunities are there by virtue of the fact that you've made the connection. So taking a few steps back in terms of the skills that these folks need then to be able to work in these, is how you then decide, what 6-month course will happen at a TVET, for example, or at a college. You're using technological advancement for these courses. So are we saying that, like artificial intelligence, for example, using that human automation now will bring about the results that you want when they go to work in these organizations? And how is that happening?
Artificial intelligence is a big topic in this country, in this setup today. Yep. And if you look at the power of artificial intelligence, computer literacy in the current market today, it is the way to go. Why I'm saying that is because the highest, if you look at the demographics of our country today, the youth comprise a very high percentage compared to the rest, and that is where technology is driven from. So if you look at the power AI has within the education space, then there's a lot that you can be able to do to provide that human right to access to quality and efficient education. One, if you look at the corporate level in terms of administration, we can incorporate AI within the learning institutions through providing better administration. If you look at the labeling or the attendance and analyzing what the students are able to do and their performance, it is important to integrate AI within the learning institution, and that provides efficiency within the within that space, within the governance level. When you get into the youth, AI has provided tools that the youth in every sector, you'll just find the youth are technologically savvy, and with that, then therefore, what it means is that it's a tool that they already have, and it has brought in the youth to be like a global village, connecting with the world and being able to make decisions and challenge the world with many opportunities and elaborate ones for that matter.
Okay. One would argue that AI is still in its early days and that even the world pretty much has not yet fully grasped what AI can do. And also in terms of just setting it up, it is expensive to set up AI and to have it perform at its optimum. So in terms of just setting up these AI, ensuring that even the tutors who will be using these AI get to understand it. What in terms of investment are we looking at from KCB's standpoint in terms of making sure that we have an AI that will help us achieve? Because there's security to be involved, there are servers to be involved, there is training on AI to be involved.
I will start by saying Africa is not as developed as the rest of the continents. Narrowing down, when you look at the Kenyan context, you'll find that we still have a long way to go in terms of integrating AI as a country. However, let's appreciate the milestones that the country has made so far in laying the infrastructure for artificial intelligence. When you look at the introduction of competency-based curriculum in 2007, it laid it brought the ideology of ensuring, or rather of bringing the competencies of the learners and appreciating their abilities to be able to be able to change this world. And one of it is through technology. And the technology, you cannot dissociate technology with what artificial intelligence has been able to do. Then later on in 2013, the country introduced what we call the digital literacy program in schools. And again, if you look at the kind of infrastructure that the government has so far been able to lay, a lot has gone to innovation, to artificial intelligence, to integrating digital literacy in schools. And so far, the government has already trained close to 100,000 teachers from primary level to be able to impart the knowledge to our learners. And that tells you the kind of infrastructure that from a government level has been laid down to be able to be artificially intelligent ready. Okay. When you get into our context as KCB, as KCB Foundation, you'll realize that as KCB Foundation will be providing the KCB Scholars Program since 2007, acknowledging the need for access to quality education. And since then, we've been able to impart on 5,752 scholars across the country, all parts of this country. And these are youths whom, without our intervention, probably they would not have access to this education. And through that, we not only pay school fees, but we are able to provide the much needed mentorship. This kind of mentorship that we provide is from our dedicated staff within our branches and also from our teacher mentors within the schools. And a lot of the learnings that we've received from such mentorship is that there is a high demand from our learners getting into careers that are led that are AI related. That tells you that there's a lot of demand. And as KCB Foundation, we have dedicated, and as KCB Foundation and KCB Group has been very instrumental in support to education initiatives, including providing tablets and laptops that we provided to our scholars, because our program is 100% transition to tertiary. And what we do is that within the tertiary space, we are able to open them up to connect with the world. And connecting with the world is through the laptops, through the gadgets, and we have like-minded partners like the government infrastructure with KEPSA.
Yes.
Opening them up to the digital opportunities.
So what kind of careers then are we looking at folks are getting into? Even if, you're getting to the tertiary level and there's a possibility for you to then go and maybe, do a further degree, get another certificate. But what kind of careers are we seeing that folks who've gone through the program then are entering into?
We've seen a radical shift in terms of the careers that these youths are taking. One is cyber security, which is a big take from our scholars. We've seen students taking robotics. We've seen most of the students also taking computer software, computer development, app development, and all computer-related courses. And that uptake really drives these students to be able to connect with the world and provide ready solutions within our industry, within the financial sector, within the education sector, within the manufacturing sector. We've seen lots of changes and with these solutions that they've been able to come up with.
Okay. I think that, there are a number of people who don't have an opportunity to tap in, So these are folks who finished high school, definitely, may have done one or two courses, but find that there's something that you need to be able to activate that job. But are we saying that we need more education, more skills training, or are we saying that what our eventual goal is to put money in the pocket of people?
Thank you. We've seen most of the youths just looking for education irrespective of what they want. But what I would advise is let the youth of this country identify what is it that they are good at. What is it that they are able to do freely and with a lot of ease. Then after that, then they look at the opportunities provided within the private space. If you look at the programs within the foundation, for example, you'll realize that we intervene on youths who are out of school with the 5 pillars that I've just mentioned. This is an opportunity where we can be able to tap into what KCB Foundation is doing and what other private organizations and other foundations are doing, and to be able to leverage on the opportunities that are available. One thing that stands out for our Tujiajiri program is the ability to provide you with the skill, the mentorship, and the opportunity to link you up to the industry and to be able to see the world differently from the way you've been able to see the world before. Coming to the education scholars, one of the things that we do is, I said it's an education for employment. When you look at the youths at the time of recruitment as they get into Form 1, looking at those youths, they are from vulnerable backgrounds. They come from very poor communities, some from Asal counties where they are pastoralists, they are taking care of their cattle just for livelihood. And when you look at them coming into the program and seeing the kind of transformation that they go through, that really inspires me, because you are able to see what education can be able to do to open up to the world, open them up to the world. And because they are going to most of the national and provincial schools in this country, with those schools you find they've got the infrastructure to connect them to the rest of the world. Their dreams are limitless. I can tell you, as some of the students who have gone to the program, we've seen them go to the Ivy League schools within this continent and within the world, in the US, and we've seen them grow and change the world in many ways.
All right. So, I mean, obviously, there are many other areas that we can go into, and really trying to tap into the potential that is available that you can use, whether in the workspace or even for further education. Stephen Latte is our guest this hour, and we're looking at what work the KCB Foundation is doing through the Tujiajiri program, and focusing a little bit on preserving human agency in a world of automation. How can you make sure that the people themselves continue to give out results and not just only focus on what technology can do? And that's the conversation that we're having this hour with Stephen Mate, who is an Education Senior Program Manager at the KCB Foundation. Let's take a quick look at what's happening with weather and traffic, and we continue after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
The weather with SpiceFM.
The weather in Nairobi is our highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 24 degrees. In Nakuru town, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 12 degrees. In Lugari, highs of 25 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. And in Kisumu, highs of 29 degrees and lows of 17 degrees. Across the borders to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highs of 24 degrees and lows of 9 degrees. In Johannesburg, South Africa, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Lagos, Nigeria, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. To China, highs of 6 degrees and lows of -4 degrees. In Paris, France, highs of 8 degrees and lows of 6 degrees. In London, United Kingdom, highs of 9 degrees and lows of 3 degrees. That is the weather. These are good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
All right, a quick look at Hur Highway, and traffic has already started to build up as you come in from Mombasa Road, heading out towards the Nyeri roundabout. That is busy, bumper to bumper. It'll take you, and we're starting to see that build up for a while. Langata Road is also feeding into that, and traffic coming in from Galleria, even before that, Magadi Road. And so that's where you see that hold up coming in from. All right, Jogo Road, we saw some traffic right around the Makadara train station. That continues. You're going to get onto Landis, and just at the junction towards Kamkunji and Haile Selassie, that traffic also has built up, and it's bumper to bumper at that point. But it'll fizzle out in good time from what we see. The Thika Superhighway with some traffic right around Survey, and it still continues coming off of Kangunda Road today. Really busy at this point, and you know, some folks are stuck there. But it'll open up as you get onto Outer Ring. Not a problem there. Let's look west of the city, where in Westlands, coming off of Waiyaki Way, there is some traffic, but all manageable for now. A little bit of that hold up as you approach Chiromo, and Lower Kabete Spring Valley, busy right about now. But moving in most parts. We are still in traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we try to keep things moving. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues for the next 24 minutes, and we're looking at, you know, how you can preserve human agency in a world of automation, and I guess going into the details of what exactly that would mean. Stephen Mate, who is an education senior program manager with the KCB Foundation, is our guest this hour. And even as we look at that, it almost sounds as though we are saying, and the thing for me, the one example that always rings true in my head is the tea pickers and the tea farms. And when the mechanization, when the machines came, there was all this, hullabaloo, and they said, come on, you're bringing in machines, essentially you're bringing in technology, and what that means is that we're going to lose our jobs. right? And it just seems like that's what artificial intelligence is doing, that there's a certain, I mean, just looking at the potential that it has to make the human race and everything that we do so much more efficient in a short period of time. I mean, it's mind-blowing, right? But at the same time, that part of you, it tugs at you and it says, okay, this is great, but then what happens with, things that we can do with our hands that we always used to do, Will AI then, how can I use artificial intelligence to design a dress, but then still be the one to put it together with my hands, like one of the programs that, the 2GRG platform provides for? How can I make sure that I continue, even I'm learning things like the salon trade, and I'm able to use AI to look at maybe new styles and new, methods, but still use my hands? How do we preserve human agency even in a world where technology is saying, I can make you 1,000 times more efficient? How do we preserve what the human beings can actually do?
When I look at artificial intelligence and the power it has to do, you're very right. That when you look at it with mechanization and bringing this world together, could that lead to job loss? The answer would be no. I look at it differently by the fact that it's providing solutions, and the solutions that are coming in is providing efficiency in our way of operation. And proficiency, I'm looking at two things. One is efficiency, the next is quality. The quality of the kind of products that you get out of this AI is bringing in solutions that are tailor-made to improve on the two levels, on efficiency and the quality of the kind of work. Not forgetting the efficiency in terms of the general management of our industries. When you look at the power of AI and the kind of trainings that are coming in, you cannot avoid the human agency, the human face into any conversation on AI. Why? In as much, if you look at our education sector, for example, when you bring AI, nowadays there's a lot of learning that you can be able to do digitally using AI, getting real-time results through artificial intelligence. But does that then mean that you can get rid of the teacher? The answer would be no. Why? It's because in as much as artificial intelligence is providing solutions within the learning environment, then you still need the educators for the human interface. Because research has told us that relationships within a learning environment is very important. Important because you can be able to internalize the experiences of the learners. And that is the most important part that you need to take cognizance of. When you look at AI, it's bringing efficiency in terms of how to manage the learner experiences. But when it comes to the actual interface between the educator and the learner, then that is very important to be able to connect the experiences and address to the strengths, the weaknesses, and the opportunities that the learner would have in that learning environment.
There's something that I'd like to ask. We have been talking about how it is you can get in touch with the 2GRG program, and it has been mentioned how it is that the 2GRG program partners with county governments. Now, within county governments, there exists groupings. Call them CBOs, call them youth groups, whatever you want to call them. Now, the question I want to ask is there room for the foundation to actually work with these groups? I understand the need to work with the county, but I'm asking, these groups serve a certain purpose. When you talk about automation and the threat of or the discussion around employment, the problem was not automation. Just like now the problem is not AI, the problem is getting people to understand what it is. Because if they don't understand it, then they will fill in the blank for themselves. And as when you consider the thing that seems to be pivotal to this discussion is the loss of jobs, when you acquire new skills, it means you can do something else. So instead of looking at the losses, the opportunities that are provided sometimes are far, far greater. I'm saying this because I grew up in an era where when you're in a certain position, you had a secretary who did your typing and what have you. Then the 21st century came in, and I started working within the 21st century. And you can imagine my shock when there were no secretaries, and everything that I needed to communicate, I had to type by myself. It meant I had to learn a new skill.
Yes.
Back to the question, KCB Foundation and working with groupings.
Thank you. In as much as I said we work with the county government, the opportunity lies also in partnering with groups. I maybe start with giving you the highlight on how we do. We reach out to the youth.
Yes.
In terms of the application process.
Yes.
The partnership with the county government is to leverage on the existing groups and organizations within the county setup.
Yes.
And this is not limited to counties only. We are also partnering with the constituencies. And we find it within the constituencies, there is a lot of connection with the constituents. And this partnership is just to align our thoughts and our agenda as two corporate organizations, as KCB Foundation, as the county government, as KCB Foundation and the constituencies. It is to align our thoughts together on what is it, what is it that we want to intervene on. And number one problem is the creation of job opportunities for our youth, which is our biggest menace of this country. When we come together on a table, then we say, these are the interventions that we want to look at. And the synergies of our partnership with the government agencies here is therefore to identify the immediate need of the communities, of the constituents within the local setup. And that is where we identify the kind of interventions in terms of skilling. The skill gap within the county level, the skill gap within the constituency level. Once we identify that, then we go to mobilization. In terms of the mobilization, this is a public advertisement that we do on radio, on social media platforms, and on all our and through our KCB branches, where we are having these recruitments. So it is. I encourage the youth to keep to be on the look, to be able to connect with our social media platforms, so that at the time we are doing our public advertisement, then they can be able to apply. Once they apply, application is normally online, where you submit your names and the intent and the school you want to go to. Then thereafter, we are able to shortlist and conduct interviews, and then we pick the very best. Here we look at it's all about the passion on the kind of skill that you want to acquire.
Yeah,
it's about what you've been able to do. If you want to get into the artisans, for example, in creatives, and you're already doing your small stuff within the creative space, then you stand a better chance to acquire a scholarship opportunity within Tujiajiri program to be able to pursue that artisan skill within the foundation infrastructure. When it comes to groups, it's an important program, and because I said Tujiajiri is limited to the youth between the age of 18 to 34, there are other opportunities within the foundation where we target groups. One of the such opportunities is a program we are calling the DigiFlame. DigiFlame is targeting women MSMEs within this country. We are piloting in select counties and to be rolled out into the rest of the counties. Here, we are targeting groups who are organized and in their small way conduct the nano entrepreneurs. They are nano entrepreneurs because they do their own businesses in a small way.
Yeah.
And we are able to provide business incubation. We are able to provide the intervention that they require to move their business from one position to another, not forgetting providing the financial, the digital financial access within the program.
Now, we talk about the partnerships that there are, the need of working with groups, but there is also another critical partnering that you do, and that is working with agencies like NITA to ensure that the certification that comes from the entire program is credible, something that is authentic, and the group that you are upskilling and giving them this new skill have something to show that including the partnering with those who give equipment. Let's talk about Bosch. How critical are these partnerships in just making sure that the entire program is rich and achieves the success that it looks forward to?
That's a very critical question that you've asked, and one of the things that KCB Foundation does when rolling out programs, I said it's partnering with the government, and partnering with the government infrastructure. Then, therefore, the national organization, or rather, the national group, the national organization that is mandated to provide certification of technical skilling is NITA. So we ensure that all our scholars who go through the Tujiajiri program get NITA certificates. And you saw what happened when last year when the country was looking for some jobs outside the country, and most of them turned up and they could do the job but lacked a certificate. We want to, what the foundation does is to enable, is to dignify your skilling, so that you get a NITA certificate that you can be able to secure a job, or you can be able to do your, self-employ yourself. When you look at even outside the country, the starting point is always that a certification bit. We are very keen on ensuring the quality of the kind of scholarships that we provide to our learners. When you look at the additional partnership opportunities that we have, we've been able to provide not only the skill in classroom, but also providing toolkits, so that as you exit out of the classroom, the 6 months training gave you the theoretical skill and a bit of technical, hands-on work. But as you transit, you need that tool to change your life and to start working. KCB Foundation provides toolkits to these trained youths. And this is through our strategic partners with the producers of such toolkits like Bosch, where we've been able to provide these toolkits to these youths. As they get out there, they are now, like a good number right now, are feeding into the national, the affordable housing program. Most of those who are getting into such construction sites are our youths, who are probably could have been earning the 500 as laborers, but now they are certified. They are getting, they're paid, as either contractors, or they are able to secure as well-trained artisans.
And one would say, banks for a very long time is known on matters to do with selling and buying money. Yeah? But here we are, you're getting into these, you call it CSI. CSI. Yeah, but still one would feel like, how do I approach them? There is the application that you say is online, but in terms of the interviews that you do, we've had the conversations before. It is rigorous, and one need to come in to be prepared, ready to get in. Just take us through that process of, it is work you're coming to do, it is serious.
Yeah, thank you. When you look at the application process for coming to the bank, why we are investing on the community, number one is to bank on we are banking on them first. We are investing in them first before they come to invest with us. I think that is very, very important for us to acknowledge, so that we are building the capacity of our youth within this country, at all parts of this nation, to be able to have money in their pockets and come and bank with KCB. And noting that then, therefore, is to be able to appreciate the application process. Once we have the public advertisement, I encourage the youth of this country to be able to be cognizant and to be able to apply in good numbers. They can be able to walk into any KCB branch within this country. There are over 200 branches across the country, and be able to get this information as at when they require. And once we roll out those applications, because right now we are still, in some counties, we've already started the recruitment, and in the next few months, we shall continue with such recruitment. I would request the youth of this nation to be ready with their national IDs and the passion now to apply and be part of our program, and be ready to be part and parcel of this community-changing program, Tujiajiri program.
Do you ever get a situation where the skills required, let's say at county level, for example, but you're not able to match that to those who want to take up, courses in that skill set requirement? And if you do, how do you deal with that?
That's a good question. I started by saying that by the time we are rolling out programs, we first collect the demand required for this set of trainings. And by the time we are connecting that skill to the job market, the level of effort then will tell us whether it's a skill to continue training or is an overflooded area of training that we may go low. So every other time we are doing the reviews just to check which are the most marketable courses within that sector and be able to produce. But I can tell you as a matter of fact, I don't think this country is flooded with the skills that you require. The skill is still relevant because the world is changing from as a result of digitalization that I talked about. Some jobs are being phased off. But when it comes to the hands-on skill, that is something that you cannot be able to get rid of. You'll still need your sink to be fixed. You still need that electrician to fix, to have this light that we require in this hall today. That tells you that it is the high time for the artisans to get the skills that they require and use it either by getting securing an employment or creating an employment for themselves.
And AI is a very powerful tool that pretty much is out here to make things easy. And with it now, you say it is not here to take away jobs, but to work together with the hands-on skills that you're talking about. So in terms of what you look at, in terms of the future, in terms of marrying these two together, even at the point of application, implementing the same, how do you look in terms of the future for AI and education?
The future is bright. I must say that we are in the era of artificial intelligence, and the future is bright. One is setting up AI to be able to give us real-time solutions within the operating space. That is number one. The second then is to use the same AI to be able to provide the much needed skill. So that if it is a skill on robotics, then we need that skill to be able to provide solutions to industries, to be able to provide solutions within the finance sector, within the education sector, within the agriculture sector, and the like. The other day you saw when the president was in Kimalel, a project that we partner with the county government of Baringo. You saw a young man who had developed an app and using AI is able to connect the farmers to the market. That's a real example of how you can be able to use AI to solve the problem of market access, which is one of the problems that we are solving within that program intervention. So with integrating AI in the education space, I see a lot of opportunity for this country. Number one, the government setting up the infrastructure that is required. We require a lot of policies, AI framework in terms of laying the framework for AI legislation to be able to patent whatever innovations our youth are able to come up with. The second, I look at the technological sector development, where we have the Kenya National Innovation Agency, which is providing facilitation for the Kenyan entrepreneurs, the Kenyan entrepreneurs who are in the tech space. That is providing an opportunity for our tech entrepreneurs to be able to sprout and be able to go and change the communities by coming up with tailor-made solutions that affect our communities.
Right.
The third is the data and infrastructure, where is now the matter around data integrity and how to be able to manage that data within the confines of the regulations within this country. Thank you.
Okay, so, I mean, of course, looking at the future, looking at currently what's happening and what you're able to do, how far can it go when we talk about, obviously there's a gap, right? The foundation has been laid in many instances by government. A lot of times, private sector then does come in to fill some of those gaps with what we are seeing. But really, what can you do in terms of possibility? collaborations that must continue into the future, because whether we like it or not, with our current situations, gaps will be there. What can you see in terms of potential of what can actually happen as concerns the education of skills and training, and filling that with the required skills and training in certain parts of the country?
A lot needs to happen within this education space in terms of connecting the requirements of the AI and education. A lot needs to be done. One is bringing on board partners who have like-minded thoughts to come together to be able to bring forward this program. One of the areas that we need partners is to bring resources together, and we encourage private partnership in as much as we also encourage private public partnership to be able to provide resources. And organizations, irrespective of how big or small they are, they still need to invest on the communities, and because the gap is there, the skill gap is so huge that we cannot be able to utilize. And that's why I call upon organizations to come together and be able to partner, and they do not really need to reinvent the wheel. We as KCB Foundation have been partnering either in the implementation stage, in the project monitoring phase, or even at the job linkage stage, to be able to connect with us and be able to uplift our communities and thereby create jobs for our youth.
So you also do give loans, and I know even as we're running down time, you do give loans. There are micro grants and things that you give. So you've seen that you give this at the end of the training when you're getting into maybe a job for yourself. So how long do you give them to pay back? Is there a moratorium that they get? How then do they start their business and at the same time manage the loans that they get?
When Tujajiri started, there were 3 interventions that we were addressing to. One is the skill, and I've talked about it. The second is the ability to manage a business, and that is provided through the business mentorship that we provide. The third one was the access to capital, which is a big problem. And research tells us that over 60% of young entrepreneurs who are starting up will fail within the first year. So with that research very clear, then it is for us to put the interventions that we require. One is to provide the seed capital. We've been providing loans to these youth. So far, we've been able to disburse over 267 million to the youths. Here, I'm not talking about the millions of money per youth, per application. I'm talking about a small amount, as low as 50,000, as high as 500,000, to be able to idealize, to start up the idea and put it into business. And with that, then we've substituted that with toolkits, because we as a foundation, we felt it is better to have a toolkit is much more powerful than giving you seed capital.
You really need to come back to talk more about this.
You definitely do.
Some of the things you're saying are profound. And there are things that could help change very many things for our youth. But our time is up.
Indeed it is. Stephen Mati, thank you very much for being here this morning from KCB Foundation to show us exactly what is happening. Asante sana, and we look forward to another conversation in the future. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah. Ubaga President William Ruto is expected to intensify his tour of Western Kenya as he clocks the 4th day in the region. The head of state will visit and launch the Alupe Dam in Busia County before engaging in the last mile electricity connection exercise in Nambale. He'll also be in Webuye East and Webuye West, as well as Kimilili in Bungoma County, to oversee last mile electricity connections in various households. Yesterday, the president visited various development projects and explained why they were important.
Unajua kuna watu wananipigia makelele huko Nairobi, mpaka wanavaa sufuria kwa kichwa ati bei ya chakula imepanda. Sasa niliwauliza, nyinyi mnafikiri chakula inatoka kwa duka ama kwa supermarket? Si lazima mkulima aende shambani? Mtanisaidia jameni, ndio mzalishe chakula. Wale wa Nairobi waache kunipigia makelele. basi tutaendelea namna hiyo. Na mimi nataka niwashukuru sana.
Well, meanwhile, complaints about the non-functioning SHA health insurance continues to rage among Kenyans, with residents of Nyamira County being the latest to speak out about the situation. Speaking to our sister station Radio Maisha, the residents have expressed their concerns when seeking medical services at public hospitals, especially having to pay cash to get treatment. They've also questioned the national government's move to scrap NHIF, saying the insurance made it easier for Kenyans to access medical services compared to SHIF.
Kusema kweli nilikuwa nimeenda hospitalini huko referral hospital, nikapeleka mgonjwa huko hospitali, lakini sasa SHA haikuwa inafanya kazi. Kuulizia wakasema kuwa kulikuwa na hitilafu kidogo za kimitambo, ikabidi nilipe cash.
SHA haifanyi kazi. Number 1, unaenda kwa hospitali unaambiwa system iko chini. Ukirudi tena unaambiwa pesa zako hazionekani. Inabidi utoe pesa yako utumie ndio ushughulikiwe.
Kitu inaitwa SHA kimeleta shida, watu wamekufa wengi, kwa hivyo warudishe NHIF vile ilikuwa.
The petition challenging the impeachment of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will be mentioned at the Nairobi High Court today. The petitioners had requested the court to await the Court of Appeal's decision in a case where the former DP is challenging a decision that ruled that Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu did not violate the Constitution of Kenya 2010 when she appointed a 3-judge bench to hear Gachagua's ouster case. The former Deputy President withdrew an appeal he had lodged at the Court of Appeal seeking to stay High Court proceedings in his impeachment case. Gachagua had particularly sought orders to stop the High Court from lifting conservatory orders that had stopped his replacement and swearing in of Kindiki as new DP. The High Court, however, vacated the conservatory, allowing Kindiki to assume office as Deputy President. The ruling United Democratic Alliance has notified its members and the general public of its intention to formally remove former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as its deputy party leader and replace him with his successor, Kithure Kindiki. The notice comes just days after the ruling party announced its merger with the Amani National Congress and incorporated some of its leaders into its leadership structure. The notice was signed by National Chairperson Cecily Mbarire and Secretary General Hassan Omar. Ruto appointed Kindiki as deputy president immediately after the Senate overwhelmingly upheld the National Assembly's decision to impeach the former Madira MP. Gachagua, however, moved to court to challenge his impeachment. And finally, detectives are investigating an incident in which a 47-year-old male patient died by suicide in a hospital toilet at the Marani Level 4 hospital in Kisii County. Officials at the facility told police the deceased had died by suicide using a hospital bedsheet that was found tied to the shower tub. He was admitted to the hospital for more than a week over an undisclosed ailment. The police said these are the latest such incidents in a series that have been reported amid a push to address the trend. The other incident was reported in Morombo village, Sengera, Kisii County, after the body of Simeon Nyatuka, aged 49, was found dangling from a tree. Police said he used a blue mosquito net to commit suicide. That's the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Are you ready to become Kenya's next biggest music star? Do you have what it takes to compete with the best and walk away with over 1 million Kenyan shillings in grand prizes? Auditions are open for Kenya Star Search on Saturday 1st of February and Sunday 2nd February at the Nairobi City Charter Hall from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come through and show us what you're made of. Proudly sponsored by Skiza, Techno Kenya, Sunlink, Wairimu Kenya, and Boomplay.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
All right, few minutes after 9 o'clock, still traffic in the city, a little bit of it, and it's coming from the Thika Superhighway as you approach Survey and then out towards the Pangani underpass. Before that, I think we're good. There's still traffic on Kangundo Road, and we'll see bumper to bumper in and outbound at that junction with Outer Ring. Also, let's take a look at Uhuru Highway as you're coming in from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out into the city. That seems to be fizzling out as well, so no problem there. It's A-OK now on Ngong Road, and it's flowing smoothly coming off parts of Langata Road, but nothing too crazy at the moment. I think we'll be out of traffic hour early today, but we're here for it to wait and see how this all opens up, and we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, indeed, at 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, and welcome to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Thursday. And looking into a number of issues, we will have the national chairperson of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Peterson Washira, will join us shortly, and we'll be looking at some issues as concerns the strike that was going on, and now where we are in terms of what will happen as concerns moving forward. So he'll be with us shortly. We've just had a conversation about the KCB to Jejiri program and the foundation and what it works. Just a reminder about where folks can get more information about that. Dennis?
Yeah, and you can get a lot of that information on kcb.com/foundation. But before we even get to where you can get this information, KCB is here to offer solutions. And as rightfully said by Mate, it is an initiative that is going to give job opportunities to the young people aged between 18 to 34 who form the large majority of Kenyans. 1 million who enter into the job market annually. He's given numbers of how many people have gotten into these, have gone through these exercise and actually gotten an opportunity to get job opportunities. But aside from that, there is also the fact that 150,555 jobs have been created, and 35,195 youth have been trained, incubated, 10,954 youth disbursed 267 million shilling loans to support their enterprises and issued 2,225 startup toolkits. He's just mentioned how important toolkits are and how it enables the young people to start their businesses, become entrepreneurs, and the fact that 6,535 businesses have been trained on financial planning. All these KCB to Jejiri platform, kcb.com/foundation is where you go to get all this information. Remember, it is not easy to get in. A lot of people want it. Competition is there, and it is open right now. Go get yourself a spot.
Right. So even as we continue and wait for Peterson to get here and join us, there has often been conversations around whether strikes, industrial action actually work. And is it the language that is understood across board when you're trying to put a particular message across? A couple of weeks ago, the doctors went on strike and then, retracted that strike action. The clinical officers went on strike last week and then now have retracted that strike action in order for some kind of conversation to take place. The question abounds in terms of, does it actually work to say, you know what, in order for you to hear what we are saying, we are going to withdraw our services until and unless you get this done. Looking at what a clinical officer does, a clinical officer, many would argue, is
they run the health facilities essentially.
Yes, they do. It's look, when a clinical officer is there in a dispensary, for example, level 2, level 3 hospital, or dispensary. When you walk in to see the doctor, you see a clinical officer, but there is no difference between the clinical officer and the doctor in your mind. This is somebody who is going to check you, diagnose, and treat you, and give you the medication that you need. Most people will say, "Ni daktari."
Daktari.
All right. Is it possible to run the medical system without them? It is not, because they perform a vital service in terms of getting things done. But the thing is, we've often been met by a lot of industrial action coming from these quarters, because they say that, you know, there are certain things that you should do for them that you actually have not done. And year on year, we find that they're saying, you know what, we're going to withdraw our services, because they are the ones essentially who run this thing, especially when in a facility you don't have a full-fledged doctor, as it were. Now, do these messages that are sent across when a strike action is initiated, do they work? Do they get us to the point whereby the authority in place will say, okay, guys, we would rather deal with the issue and make sure that we give their due rather than have their services pulled, because that will cause more harm than good. But the question is, does industrial action of this nature actually work? Does it yield results?
It does. It does. You see, once upon a time, there was no doctors' union. All these unions you hear of all the people who were in the health sector, didn't really exist. Somewhere along the line, well, it's not that they didn't want to have them. It was impossible to have them. The space for even thinking along those lines did not exist. When you hear of strikes, or what we refer to as industrial action, usually it's the last resort. The unions don't start by saying we're going to go on strike. They start by saying, why don't we talk and agree?
Yeah.
And in the cases that you've referred to in this country, the problems that are rising now is not that there was no understanding. No, the understandings were not honored. That's where the problem comes in. Meaning, discussions were had, and even as the discussions were had, certain things were understood to be at the very foundation of what ought to be done.
Yeah.
And both parties said, yes, we agree, yes. Do you agree? Yes, we agree. Will it be done? Yes. And within what time? Within this time. When can we expect it? Blah, blah, blah. That doesn't happen. So somebody goes back and says, we agreed on this, madam, good people. It hasn't been done. Please, is there a problem? Can you help us out? When it gets to a point where you can see no movement, you say, guys, you're not hearing us, so why don't we do something that will help you hear us?
That will help us hear us a little better.
And let's improve your ability to hear. And the improvement comes with the announcement, and it's a notice.
Yes.
It's not that we're not coming to work tomorrow. We're giving you notice. Come this day. If you haven't done this, and the other, as we had agreed, okay? Then unfortunately we'll have to down our tools.
There you go.
So it's last resort. Yes.
The conversation has previously begun. Well, Peterson Oshira is here, the National Chairperson of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Good morning, Peterson.
Good morning.
And Happy New Year officially.
Happy New Year. I think this is the first time I'm coming here.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you for being here.
It's always an honor and a pleasure to sit in this seat where the great men and women of this country sit and discuss national issues.
Wonderful.
And my apologies, I was a bit late.
That was going to be my next thing. After I had welcomed you into the thing, then I will now ask you why, but thank you for doing that.
It's things are hot. There was a meeting I really had to rush. I couldn't miss this one.
Understood.
Or anything.
Well, I'm very grateful that you did that. And then also in the hot seat this morning. Let's see. Before we get into that, let's CT welcome you with today's proverb. Then you can tell us what you think about it. I think you might like this one today.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Rwanda. Okay? Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret. Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret. That is the proverb for today.
True. I think quite literal interpretation would be there are things that however much you may want to hide, with time they are going to probably explode, and everybody is going to see. Just like if you hide a fire, you're going to see a smoke. If you hide a pregnancy, then at some point it will be out there for everybody to see. But I think if I can link that with our issues, I must say that you cannot hide incompetence. Because I think the problem that we are having now, especially with the social health authority, is incompetence. And I think now it is coming out for everyone to see.
When you say incompetence, what do you mean?
What I mean is that when you have legal provisions, you have policy or regulation provisions, but then the people who are there, they go against them, and using that, they find themselves sabotaging the system. That is the definition of incompetence, and that is why we have been very clear, asking the president, can you disband these administrative boards of SHA and have people who understand, and especially those who are doing direct administrations. And we are very clear with that, because if you look at the reason as to why we went on strike, because it's good for Kenyans to know, the Social Health Authority was put in place so that it can assist this country to get into the universal health coverage.
Yes.
By that I mean, it was supposed to facilitate access to health care. It was also supposed to ensure there is quality of that health care. And finally, that then they protect every Kenyan from financial harm as they access this good quality health care. But now, when the law says that once they come into place, they are going to recognize all the regulatory bodies that register practitioners and the facilities, all of them, and then take a list from them, put in their website and gazette. That is what is called empanelment. It's simply recognition.
Yes.
Once they do that, they contract the facilities, and once they empanel the practitioners, they can be able to see patients under them. Then they sit in and say, we are a bit lazy. We cannot handle the about 10 or more regulatory bodies. We just need to use one, which is KMPDC, which only registers 2 of the cadres, medical officers and dentists. Then you lock everybody out. Then later you come to realize that it's clinical officers who actually see almost all Kenyans, and now they cannot be able to see them through the system. And everybody is crying, we cannot be able to utilize SHA because clinical officers council, which registers us, has been locked out. And so all of us who have been registered under the Clinic Officers Council then are unable to see patients through the Social Health Authority. But now, even worse, is in October we write to them. They do not respond. We go to an extent of having demonstrations. We say, no, we don't want to down our tools. Why don't we first demonstrate? Probably the vuvuzeras might make them think better. We go there severally in December, until we reach of the people who are implementing these things at the Social Health Authority, or we are having selfish interest, and either of those should be a ground for these people to be censured or to be sacked and other Kenyans to replace them.
So Peterson, sorry. Go ahead.
Peterson, one would assume that by the time we were putting in place universal health care, SHA and SHIV, that organizations or people like you would have been consulted before this is actually put in place, because we're talking about access to healthcare for the 55 million Kenyans that do exist in this country. Was there any communication that happened with you?
Yes, I can say to some extent we were involved as stakeholders. When these laws were being drafted, we were there. When the regulations were being drafted, we were there. There are many things that we raised that were never changed. And I even remember at some point, it was said as an achievement that we thank the parliament because it has passed the laws without changing even a comma.
Yes.
Some things really are baffling. That was seen as an achievement. Well, we as the stakeholders, we had challenged many things. We had challenged the issue of the subscription or the contributions to the fund.
Yes.
And we had said that, why, if you're saying 2.75 for everyone, why are you capping? Because the person you are saying to pay 300, the lowest, is actually paying the highest percentage. Because it means this person's percentage maybe was coming to 150 shillings. The only person who pays 300 is the one whose 2.75% does not reach 300. So if you are 2.75 was at 150,
yes,
you pay 300, that is double of the 2.75. So you're paying 5.2 something percent. The other thing we said that the funding model of the social health insurance was not in line, was not aligned to the better plan of the president of prioritizing primary health care and prevention.
Which is one of the things he stated very clearly in the plan. Okay.
Yes. Cool. And the reason as to why we said this is because if you want to know the priority of anyone, just look at where their money goes to. CHPs are going to come and take some samples and see if you have diabetes, if you have hypertension. But nobody is coming to tell you that you have risk factors. This is what you need to do. So we are not preventing; we are just screening to get these diseases and then cure them.
Yeah.
So we need to refashion our system so that it can be preventative in nature, and then take enough funding and enough technical personnel. And the technical personnel who are needed there are known, because we were taking Cuban model, but at some point we decided to twitch it. Only then are we going then to bring the cost of health down, and then we will be able to manage it.
Yeah. So, Peterson, even with this strike action, many would imagine that it was just about the CBA for clinical officers. But obviously what is coming into play here is that it's difficult even for medical practitioners to do their job within a system that you clearly have talked about that is flawed. So it's beyond just increase our salary, it's beyond improve working conditions, but you're saying across board, improve this system so that it becomes easier also for us to do our job and to provide the much needed medical care to Kenyans. Am I right?
Very true, because we had two issues. One was on the Social Health Authority exclusion and discrimination, and that is purely for Kenyans. We are basically fighting so that we can be able to see Kenyans without them suffering from financial harm as they do that. Of course, the second thing now was about breach of the return to work agreement. And I think CT really summed it very well. I think what he said was perfect. It was a very good deduction of what happened.
Please repeat that statement.
You know, he's a wise man. Yes. Because, in 2024, we had the longest strike by clinic officers in history since 1928 when we started working in this country. We have never been on strike for 99 days and 121 days under the national government. Why did we go on strike? Because there was an order from the court for the employers to sit with us and conclude a CBA, which they didn't. So we actually went on strike to enforce an order of the court. During the strike, when the judge still realized that the strike was taking quite some time, the judge ordered us to sit down and enter into a return to work agreement and draw a framework on how we were going to resolve these issues. So we sat over several days with the Council of Governors, high level, with the Ministry of Health, high level.
Yeah.
And we drafted a framework that was supposed to end by September. We should have resolved these issues. We took the framework back to the court. And I remember when we went to the court, the judge asked two questions to our lawyers, the lawyers of the union and the other side. And the judge asked, did you do this in good faith? And they responded, yes. The second question was, so are you going to implement this, or are you going to come back here accusing each other that you never implemented?
Yeah.
And they both said, no, we are going to implement. Then we find ourselves in January, the county governments having not implemented, so majority of them having not even done 10%. A good number had done probably one or two things, but a majority had not done much. But I think I must commend the ministry and the leadership then, because that side was on the Public Health and Professional Standards, PS. That they have done 80%. They have promoted, we have a comprehensive medical cover. The CBA is almost done. It's actually the Treasury and the SRC that is pulling us back. So the ministry has really tried, except now on the issue of the universal health coverage and global fund. But the counties were really lagging behind. So then we go on a strike, and then how they come in. We had first given a notice of 14 days. And we even wrote to them. And when we did that presser calling for the strike, we were very clear that we have no intention of going on strike. We don't want to go on strike. We are giving 14 days so that we can sit down and resolve these issues. Then 2 days to the strike is when we are having our first meeting, and we do not have to have solutions. That is why we decided to get into the strike, and especially on the issue of SHA. Because you're asking them, why would I sit in a facility when I know that any Kenyan that comes, I cannot see them using the Social Health Authority number or card or whatever, and they have to get money from their pocket when they have already subscribed to this insurance. And we said no. Until we are at a point where we can be able to utilize the Social Health Authority, the Social Health Insurance, to see our patients, then we are not going back. And we gave that as a bare minimum. And now that has been done after the strike. But of course, the other issues, we have also seen a lot of goodwill from the Council of Governors. I must also commend them. On this issue of SHA, they are the ones who have actually shown leadership, which is expected to come from the ministry. And they are the ones who said, these people, they work under us. They are the ones they are the clinicians on the ground.
Yes.
And our people are suffering. You have to. And mind you, there is no legal handle. There is no legal challenge. If you look at the act, there is nowhere it discriminates. There is nowhere it says it is only this one you can consider and not the other.
And the other.
If you look at the regulation, it is explicit. You must recognize all the relevant regulatory bodies.
Okay.
So some people just sat in an office and thought probably the regulatory bodies might be too many for us. Why don't we pick one? And that is why we are saying the president needs to reevaluate, because he goes out there, promises Kenyans that SHA is working.
Yes.
But sometimes the reason as to why you see Kenyans angry is because he says it's working. Because in his mind, he knows
He's
he
been
has
told
the
it's
policy
okay.
right.
Yeah.
But then the people implementing here are self-sabotaging the system. And so it is not working for the people on the ground. So the president doesn't understand why people are saying
this thing is not working.
It's not working. And that is why we are here to tell him. It is the people in those offices who are actually sabotaging him.
Peterson Washira is the national chairperson of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and we're talking about the reasons as to why there would be strike action and what the call is for understanding in terms of what needs to happen. That strike notice in certain parts of the country has been called off. We'll look at some of the intrigues around that and then what would happen coming into the future. And then also we want to get a clear understanding. I mean, again and again, Peterson, it's not too much when we share information about, the role that clinical officers do play within the medical system. So we'll come back and continue with that. It's 27 minutes to 10 o'clock. We'll do weather and traffic, and we'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
The weather in Nairobi, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Mvita, that is in Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 24 degrees. In Nyeri town, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. And in Lugari, highs of 25 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. In Kisumu city, highs of 29 degrees and lows of 17 degrees. Across the borders to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highs of 24 degrees and lows of 9 degrees. In Lagos, Nigeria, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. In Johannesburg, South Africa, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. Kinshasa, Congo, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 23 degrees. In London, United Kingdom, highs of 9 degrees and lows of 3 degrees. And in China, highs of 6 degrees and lows of -4 degrees. That is the weather. These are good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything
Spice up your life.
All right, we're coming out of traffic hour, not too far from now. Just a little bit of that left on the Thika Superhighway, and then we're seeing some traffic coming in from Wairimu Way, heading in towards Chiromo. And on Limuru Road, a little bit of that left, and Ngong Road seems to have done pretty well coming out of traffic hour. I'll take a quick look at other parts of the city. Southern Bypass looking good, and also on Uhuru Highway as you go towards the city, not too much in terms of a clog up. So more or less, traffic has come to an end, and at least for now, traffic clog up has come to an end. Traffic hour this morning, stepping out of it. Let's see what happens through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Peterson Washira is the national chairperson of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. And even as we look at the demand on the system, the next few minutes of this conversation, I think it's important for us to again look at the role. I mean, because you represent clinical officers within the entire, medical spectrum. But I think it's important for us to look again at the role that clinical officers play, because that would then help us see on a broader, picture why then it is important to make sure that they're able to keep playing that role.
Very well. So clinical officers are health practitioners. We are found in around 87 countries across the globe. Some people think that clinical officers are only found in Kenya.
And they only trained at KMTC.
Yeah, we are called primary level clinicians. Albeit we have different titles. Actually, our count is 34 different titles for the 87 countries. And that is one thing that at the international level, because we have an association, we are trying to harmonize the nomenclature so that we have one title. The other thing I can say before even stating the role is that the US and the UK benchmarked from Kenya to start their physician associate program.
That's what they call it.
Yes, people are used to thinking that it's only Kenya that can learn from Europe and the US. When they were benchmarking, I was in that meeting. They even took our curriculum and it is being implemented there. So that is the equivalent of clinical officers in the US and in the UK. So clinical officers, we usually work as primary clinicians. Primary clinicians means the first clinician you are going to meet when you get into any hospital. When you go to level 2, level 3, we are the only clinicians there. When you go to level 4 up to the level 6, mostly you are going to find us in the outpatient and in the specialized clinics and in theaters, depending on the specialty. So when I talk about the specialties, we have around 20 of them. Things like ophthalmology and cataract surgeries, 98%. If you have an ophthalmology or cataract surgery, 98% chances that is a clinical officer.
Okay.
Things that to do with the ENT, ear, nose and throat, things to do with anesthesia. When you have to be anesthetized for a surgery to be done on you, there is a 95% chance that that person who is doing that is a clinical officer. The same for oncology services. We are the ones with the specialists. If you go to oncology centers, the specialists you are going to find they are giving you chemo and the other things is mostly a clinical officer. I think for a long time we have not had that specialty for doctors. Probably it's the first, they're having the first class or the second. It has been the clinical officers. And the same for the other many specialties. So when you go to the HIV, TB clinics, when you go to the NCD clinics, the people that you are going to get there, or majority of them, will be the clinical officers doing that. And with the new system, now with the new referral system, where you have to go to level 2 or level 3 before you are referred, 100% of Kenyans now have to pass through our hands before we can refer them upwards. So that is the scope of our role. And now you can imagine when that type of a cadre is locked out of the social health insurance, and then you tell Kenyans, can you prescribe to this insurance so that you do not pay?
And you see, when you talk about the importance of clinical officers in our health sector, please remember that since devolution, they've had 100 strikes. That tells you they've not been listened to 100 times.
So what makes it possible that they would listen at go 101?
Yes.
The unfortunate thing with this country, number one, we are very superficial. We have what I like calling superficial politics. Don't look for it in any dictionary. It is not there. But the superficial nature of it is we are only disturbed by what seems to threaten our image politically. And that is why it is only the strikes that are working. They do not work because these guys want to work. They work because people feel that they are threatened. Their image is being threatened. But as long as you do not do that, and that is why we always do letters, the correspondences, they don't care. They don't even answer. Until you threaten their positions, you threaten their comfort, that is when they are going to act. And everything that we have gained, I must say, since the 2010 constitution, before 2010 constitutions, we were like the military. We were not allowed to strike. We were not allowed to have unions. Since 2010, we have gained a lot. And by saying we have gained a lot, I'm not only talking as a clinician, I'm also talking as a patient. Because at one or the other time, I'm a patient, my child is a patient, my relative is a patient, or my friend. We have been able to improve so many things. We have improved the number of clinic officers that we have in the system. Of course, we are not doing very well because by now we are supposed to be 22,000 in the system. As per the statistics from the Ministry of Health, not from the union, though we are only around 7,000. So it means every one clinic officer works for 3 clinic officers. And that is why you'll find, at some point we looked at the Nakuru PGH, and we found a clinic officer had seen 150 patients
in a day
within 12 hours.
12 hours.
And that is pure witchcraft.
It's something on drugs, that's for sure.
And if you don't
No
do
pun
that,
intended.
the MCA will be there slapping you.
Yeah.
Everybody will be on your case. Why aren't you seeing patients? And the problem is because in a day, as per the WHO, if you give a patient, you are supposed to take at least 15 minutes with a patient so that you can listen to them. You can be able to diagnose them without, when you're not in a hurry, so that you get it right. You are supposed to only see between 35 and around 45 patients. This person who is doing 150, I can assure you by the time they were getting to 60, they were fatigued.
Because look, if we do the math, Peterson, if you're saying that you're supposed to spend 15 minutes with a patient, and if you're doing just 100 patients, okay, I'm even saying just 100, it's ridiculous. 100 patients at 15 minutes is 25 hours.
Yes.
It's more than a day.
It is.
So, 2 things are happening here. Either you're rushing through and you're not getting a full, comprehension of what's going on with the patient, and there could be things like misdiagnosis.
Yes.
Or you are not seeing the number of people that you should see. So, how do you even begin to do 150 is more than 25 hours?
Actually, there's a problem.
There's a big problem.
The moment you're talking those numbers, you are going to misdiagnose.
Yes.
You are going to misprescribe. There are so many things simply because of fatigue.
Let's talk about when you're not even you as an individual, when you haven't gotten enough rest, you're not at your optimum.
True.
So this is a space that requires you to be at your optimum in order to see where there's a problem based on what somebody has told you, and then you then go ahead and diagnose. So we're dealing with a pressure cooker situation here where clinical officers around the country, for number one, not enough in terms of numbers.
True.
Number two, have to see the health burden is already so great. And you don't have the time or the resources to deal with everybody as you should. If we're dealing with a today problem where every clinical officer is seeing between 100 and 150 patients a day, that's a disaster.
And then do also remember that they're dealing with patients. The things they go through alone requires you to rest.
Oh no, we don't even
mental
deal with the
health
things that
and
they're going through.
whatnot.
We don't know, please. We don't have time.
Nobody cares for
we
the
don't have
carer.
time to think about what the carer is going through. That's not your problem.
And that is why politicians will never come to the public facilities because they're the decision makers and they understand these things. They know that the people there are fatigued. Probably they are going to misdiagnose you. They do not misdiagnose. They do not do medical errors because they are incompetent. They do medical errors because they are fatigued. When you are fatigued, there are several symptoms and signs you are going to have. You'll become irritable. Have you heard people say that our nurses are very rude?
What are you talking about? Just the other day, we heard a story of a gentleman who arrived at the front door of a facility with a broken leg, and the lady at the front desk was literally watching him. Her eyes were open. If you looked at her, you would imagine that she was alive. But there is no life behind those eyes.
Yeah, and sometimes, as much as I am not supporting the rudeness and the other things, when fatigue sets in, even if you were to do a simple Google search about the signs and symptoms of fatigue at work, you see irritability, you'll see mental cloudiness, you see many other things, including stress and depression. And this is what our nurses also are suffering. So this is what many of the clinical officers and other health workers in public facilities are suffering from. And you know, we are trying to tell them that we should stop looking at health workers as a liability. We should start looking them as a development. And there is an opportunity actually with the Social Health Authority, because right now, if you have more health workers, it is going to give you more money as a county. And this is the reason. The way we have oriented our social health insurance is such that the patient has the power and has the discretion to look for quality. So the patient is allowed to go to a level 2, level 3 of their choice, whether private, public, or mission. So the patient will follow where the quality is, and the money is going to follow the patient. And so if the public facilities, because patients will not go to the public facilities, in level 2 you only find a nurse. In level 3, probably a clinic officer and a nurse. You don't even have a lab tech. But if we can have at least a clinic officer per dispensary, the nurse, then you have a laboratory technician, so that at least you can diagnose quite well. You improve the quality of the diagnosis and management at that level. You are going to pull patients back into the public facilities. They will be followed by that money that then you are rebated by SHA, and you are going to get more money for FIF. You know, you have an FIF bill where you are supposed now to retain that money at the facility level for the improvement and buying the equipment. And with the time then, that is going to build the health system in the public sector and make it better. So there is an opportunity, and employment of more health workers at this point is evident that it's actually a development, not a liability. But then our politician sees that as a liability, and that is why they want to minimize that cost as much as possible. And in our return to work agreement, that is one of the issues, and it's one of the issues that we are also discussing. But then the problem is that from our PFM Act, the Public Finances Management Act, the capping of 35 for the recurrent expenditure, and then you push the employees in that 35%, and keeping in mind that when the devolution was happening, counties had only been given money for the employees. So at some point it was actually almost 100% when they were starting. And a bigger chunk of the money goes to employees. So you'll find most of them have surpassed that. It becomes an audit query. And that is why we are saying that there needs to be a revision on how we look at that. Either we categorize health workers as development expenditure so that they come into the other side of the 65%. If that cannot happen, then why don't we then have a commission that will be able to hire and manage, but then that can sit very well with the counties? And we had structured that. We presented before the BBI team during the time of BBI, and we said a health service commission does not mean that now we are going to centralize health services. We can actually still have the counties run their functions, but then when it comes to employment, so that we only have a commission that is not restricted by the PFM Act. We have a commission where if, let's say, Nairobi or Kisii County wants to employ, it will send a request to the commission and say, I need 10 nurses, I need 20 clinical officers, I need medical
and the commission now can?
The commission hires, sends to that county as per their needs. Then within the county, they can manage them within the county. You can transfer, you can discipline, you can do whatever. When they need to move from that county to another, they apply back to the commission so that the commission can take them to the other and probably exchange. When they need to terminate, you also take back. It is possible to do that.
Yes, it is, but also it will also ensure that the needs that each county would have, because you cannot say all counties have the same need.
True.
That it is understood and in that manner also balanced. See, people who want to go back to that centralized system look at it from the time when all this was centralized, and the idea was everyone can benefit as a result of this. Because with the current system and the way it goes about it is, if you come from a community or you come from a county where very many people have gone to school, or have trained as clinicians, you have an advantage. You will have more clinicians. If you haven't, then I think
then you will not have.
Well, you'll have a problem. You will have a problem.
Yeah.
You will employ, but you're going to have to supplement it by employing from others.
Yes.
And yet, what you then have is a situation you probably don't want to create, where people assume that any position that is vacant must be filled by somebody from their community. You see? Now, you cannot do that to health service, because then you will disadvantage very many communities in this country. Yes.
The hope is, as you continue to have such engagement, is that it will fall on listening ears. So that would be the next question: is that who's listening now? And that with the developments that we've seen over the last few hours, you had a meeting this morning as well, but where are we now?
Since we started the strike, we had had quite a number of meetings with the CS Health, with the PS, with the Council of Governors. And the issue of Asha has been resolved. As we talk, they're inputting the data. I think some of us now can be able to use SHA. And we are told by the end of the week, everybody should be able to do that. So we can say that is being resolved. But on the issue of the breach of return to work agreement, we have agreed. We suspended our strike yesterday after an agreement that within the next 21 days, we will be able to finish and sign off on the CBS, both at the national level and the county level. And also implement the other things in terms of promotions. And you can imagine within the few days that we have been there, a few counties are already almost done with the promotions and designations and the other things. So you wonder, do you have to wait for us to go on a strike so that you can effect something that you would have effected without having to disrupt
It would appear so.
Yes.
It would appear so, because even the government that preceded this one seemed to have had similar hearing problems.
True.
Yeah, because you are told, it is repeated, and yet you are determined that you will only hear when you have a gun to your head.
Yeah.
Yes. It seems that is the path that they have chosen, because the alternative has always existed.
Yeah.
So you always ask the question, why do you wait until the water is boiling?
Another question would be, health is a fundamental right in the Constitution. It is what all of us ought to receive at any given point. And when we have 100 strikes, now we're going to the 101, you've not been listened to, begs the question, why does it seem as though the leadership that has been there, Uhuru Kenyatta, now William Ruto, are not taking the responsibility of giving healthcare to Kenyans as a matter of priority? Is it not a priority to them?
It's a priority in conversation.
In conversation.
Yes.
And in manifestos.
Yes. When it's spoken of and it's written down, it is a priority.
It is a priority.
When you talk about primary health care, there's a process that began quite a while back. It was called the Integrated Community Case Management. Research was done on it. It was understood. There's even an implementation document where the minister said, this is how you want. That is supposed to take care of primary health care, even at the community level. Now, the cost of actually implementing it was even worked out and piloted. So it is known. So you actually wonder, wait, counties have money for all manner of things.
Yeah.
This is something, okay, let me take a few steps back. What it demonstrated was that you could reduce the attendance of patients, the hospital attendance, by 75%. Now, the pilot was on pneumonia, malaria, and diarrhea. Okay? Just those three. But it was proved that 75% of people who would ordinarily have gone to hospital because of this could actually be managed at that community level. Now, you want to ask, why do you wait for people to get to that level? Because it's going to cost you more. The condition that began and could have been managed very easily at that level now becomes serious. This person has to be actually hospitalized. They have to be given medication that they didn't probably need to be given at the very beginning. This is a story that seems to permeate our healthcare process, because, by the way, when I say it has been documented, the ministry has documented all this. There's even an implementation plan. So you wonder, okay, why haven't you implemented it? Because you clearly understand it. And by the way, the implementation plan that is current is the year 2022 to 2027. I would like someone to tell me how the implementation is going on. Yes.
Yeah.
Because this very thing we're discussing here about SHA would have been taken care of with this.
And there are very many of those policies you're talking about. Other countries like Rwanda has borrowed, and they are doing actually better than ourselves. But just imagine that as we sit here, we don't have the public health officers taking samples of the water from the wells where communities drink from. We do not have public health officers going around and looking at the rivers where people get their water from. We do not have nutritionists and clinicians or nurses going to schools and looking at which child has malnutrition.
Yes.
Look at the cases of rickets. Why is it that, if you find a child that comes repeatedly with pneumonia and diarrhea and vomiting, if you evaluate them well, you're going to find that they have rickets.
Yes.
Meaning, rickets is a kind of malnutrition.
Yes.
It's a case of calcium and vitamin D.
It's like a manifestation of that malnutrition.
Yes. And of course now lowers the immune and they come with other conditions.
Yes.
So if some of these things, if we had what we call the community health programs and the family health programs at the preventative or the community health level, these are things you'll be able to pick at home. These are things you'll be able to pick in school. You'll be able to correct them before they get to that stage. And as you said, 75% of those patients will not come to the hospital.
Because you've prevented it at that level.
Yes.
And you've been able to look out for what it is. So, it is clear that when we started this conversation, we talked about the fact that, you're going to put your money where your priority is.
Yes.
Right? And your priority doesn't necessarily mean that that is what it should be.
Yes.
Your priority could actually change. So if we looked at health and we say that preventative health is where the world is going, where anybody should go. It's cheaper, it makes more sense. On the whole, it comes together better. But curative is where most of the money goes. But look at what you're talking about now. Clinical officers best placed to do certain things when it comes to preventative health, which is the cheaper option and the more holistic one. How do you get folks to see that? I would imagine that they do.
Now, you see, people restructure systems to suit their interests because in no uncertain terms, right now, we are in a curative system. Let nobody lie that we're in a preventative system. Even the CHPs that we got, that we say that they are there to prevent, they are just there to scout for those people who have diseases so that we can cure. So they are just as a facilitator of the curative system. And we must be able to restructure. And the funny thing is that when we raise these voices, some of us, we are seen as if we are opposing. Instead of people saying that we are giving positive criticism so that we can be able to better healthcare. And I think what we really need a leadership that listens, that can be able to bring the stakeholders to discuss the fundamental issues about the structure of our healthcare. We start from there. Let us forget about the funding and whatever else. Let us sit down and look at how do we need to structure our health system so that it works for us. Because the health system, the kind of health system we have right now, does not work for us. Yes.
So, in the next couple of days, what do we hope to see?
In the next 21 days, our expectation is that we are going to have a CBA. All the counties will have promoted, designated. We will have a medical cover. We will have a budgetary allocation for absorption of UHC, harmonization of their salaries, absorption and payment of their gratuity. We have already written to the Treasury. I think the budget policy came out and they were receiving inputs.
Yes.
And funny enough, we realized there was no money for UHC, yet their contract is ending next year. So we have written to the Treasury. We have written to Parliament on the same. But of course, if after 21 days that does not happen, we'll be back on the streets.
I hear you. One can only hope that, the listening ear will actually then give to the doing hand, because that's what needs to happen if we're really talking about getting a health system off its knees to standing on its feet and, taking a walk. Peterson Washira, the national chairperson of the Union of Clinical Officers, has been our guest this hour. Let's see what happens as the next few days unfold. Asante sana for being here this morning. And thank you for being part of the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation this Thursday.